this Monday. Great to have you guys here. Great to spend Memorial Day with all of you. No place I'd rather be than right here, right now with all of you. Absolutely awesome. So, I wanted to do a quick, before we get started, just acknowledge Memorial Day and recognize, our thoughts and prayers and hearts go out to all the Gold Star families out there, recognizing those that have paid the ultimate price in the service to our great nation and to our country. And, that's what Memorial Day is for. But I do know that for sure the people that I had served with in the past, that I knew personally and had served with, and I know they'd want you to go out and celebrate and enjoy yourself with your family and friends and make the most of the great life that you have. So go ahead and recognize that really quickly. We got a great show. We're going to get into it. So hopefully you guys have had a good time, a good weekend with some barbecues, some relaxing time together and get-togethers, all that stuff. What's going on? We're about to kick this thing off. So today, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a lot happening, no doubt about it. But today, as you see in our thumbnail and the title, The Trust Collapse, we're going to talk about how they hid all the UAP files, everything, the whole cover-up, how they hid it from everyone, including themselves, okay? Because usually we have one person we can point this to or a group, but I hear a lot of this, the government or this or that. In this case, yes, but it goes deep and it's very compartmentalized, right? Holding on to these secrets. So we're going to get into that, all right? But before we get into today's stream, I want to ask you guys something. Have you ever worked in an organization where you suspected something was going on that nobody was talking about? I have. Yeah. Okay. I know you have as well. We all have it to some degree. Where you thought some information was being controlled, filtered, managed, like Game of Thrones style type of, backdoor deals, sneakiness, right? And I know some guys I've served with, you can probably think of some things, right? I think each of us has some things we can think of. But sneakiness, underhandedness, dastardliness, if that's even a word, right? But the information's being controlled, managed, filtered, and you couldn't prove it, but you could just feel it, okay? You guys, if you've been there before, give me a 1 in the chat right now if you have experienced that in places you've worked, okay? Give me a 1 in the chat if you've experienced some sneakiness like that. I want to see, just so we're all tracking, okay? And don't forget to vote in our poll. The poll is up and live. All right? And so what you're feeling is not paranoia, honestly. That's pattern recognition, okay? And today we're going to talk about the most extreme version of that, of the withholding of information, of sneakiness, right? Of secrets within secrets, of the vanguard of the vanguard, meaning, there's a secret group, but there's an even more secret group out there that is controlling stuff, okay? It's the most extreme version of that phenomena possibly in human history. And I'll say that because if all these things come out as they are coming out with UAPs, non-human intelligence, aliens, I'll say it, right? Extraterrestrials, not of this world, of this earth, okay? And this actually turns out to be something. I'm still skeptical. I know you are too. I'm very skeptical, okay? But I got to say, I think there's something there. I think there are UAPs, okay? That I don't think it's all a deep fake. There's just too much. It's too complex. Too many different sensors, things like that, okay? Could it be fake? Sure, maybe. I don't know. But I don't think so. At this point, I don't think so, okay? And I've said before in the end of my last video, it doesn't prove that there are aliens here among us. It doesn't prove that there's non-human intelligence life forms here, okay? But it's some kind of technology for sure flying around, and I think in our oceans as well too, that we just can't explain, okay? So that's what makes it the biggest cover-up, the most extreme version of all of this possibly in human history, okay? Welcome to the Ferocious Optimist podcast. I'm your host, Ben Pappas. I'm a retired Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel. I served in Marine Infantry. I served in Force Recon. I served in MARSOC, commanded a Marine Raider Battalion. I've held security clearances. I've been read into all kinds of stuff. Okay. Special access programs been a part of. I've operated and worked in and around classified environments for a while in my career, a long time. So I understand how compartmentalization works. I understand the purpose of it as well, too, at the operational level. I just want to say that, okay? It does serve a purpose, and it's important for national security in a lot of ways, okay? But there's a big but and a big however, okay? And we're going to talk about that. Again, how they're hiding it, not just from us, but from themselves, too, okay? And all kinds of craziness. So today we're going to break down what's actually been disclosed, not speculation, not conspiracy theory, about how UAP programs were hidden, not just from you and me, but from Congress, from the president, and from other intelligence agencies, okay? Pretty much from everybody. And how other countries are hiding it from each other as well, too. Just how does this go on? How does this work? Okay, and then I want to connect that all to something that matters to every leader watching this as well, too, okay? We're going to connect the dots on this. And what does a trust collapse at an institutional scale, what does that look like? I think we're seeing it, honestly, okay? UAP files, Epstein files. What other files are out there? I know we talked about JFK before, and again, I'm not a conspiracy channel. This isn't like the Deep Dark Mysteries Uncovered channel. This is more or less a leadership channel, okay? Analysis, geopolitics, strategy, leadership, okay? And how it can apply to your life, your situation, how it can help you to gain clarity about what's going on around you. So, you make sense of things, right? And it's so important to have that operational context to understand your operating environment as you make decisions, as you navigate strategically through your projects, through your life, through your work, through your relationships, all these things, okay? So we're going to look at, though, what does trust collapse look like at an institutional scale? And what does it do to the people living inside it, okay? I had somebody comment on a LinkedIn post I wrote about this, saying that it's interesting because at a smaller scale, it's felt very quickly, and the bleeding is noticed right away. At a larger institutional level, like a Fortune 500 company, Fortune 100 government, people tend to rationalize things away and hide and keep quiet because it just seems it's like this groupthink, okay? Give me a 1 in the chat if you guys know about groupthink, okay? Give me a 1 in the chat if you think what I'm saying, I should say. I know you guys know what it is. But if you think what I'm saying has to do with group chat. All right, group chat. I got the group chat on my brain. Groupthink, okay? Meaning that we all think a certain way, and if we were outside of that group, we would clearly see that this goes against our values, our morals. It goes against previously what we believed was truth, according to laws of nature, physics, our own moral code, whatever it may be, okay? Okay, got it. Okay, so groupthink is a real thing, right? There's Stockholm Syndrome as well. Stockholm Syndrome where a captive starts to identify with their captors, okay? And it's like when it came about from a terrorist capturing, I think, a group of students. The students came to start to, sympathize with the captors and understand them and see their point in their way, not realize they were being captured, right? And they were captives. They were held, okay, kidnapped. Exactly, SRP Valkyrie, hive mind. Exactly, hive mind. That's right. Like a hive mind, okay? And then once you separate, you see how things truly are, all right? So that's what we're going to get into. And first of all, we're going to talk about the architecture of secrecy, okay? And how did they form this whole secret cover-up architecture, okay? Before we do that, going to go ahead and dive in the chat here and give some shout-outs. What's going on? Lisa, always the first one in there. Welcome. Great to have you here. Mark, welcome. Great to have you. David Barber, awesome. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Appreciate the compliment. David Barber says, excellent channel. Thank you very much. SRP Valkyrie. Cedric, what's up, Cedric? How you doing, man? Good to have you. Phoenix, how you doing? Phoenix, great to have you here. Happy Memorial Day to everyone. And yes, I say happy because I know my brothers and sisters in arms would also want you to have a happy Memorial Day, okay? And so, yes, we want to have a meaningful Memorial Day, recognize what it's for, remember people's names, remember those who've served and who've fallen and didn't come home in service to our great nation. But also, we want to have a happy Memorial Day as well. Okay. Joe Saunders, what's going on, man? Yippee-ki-yay, Semper Fi. Good to have you. John, what's going on, John? Star, how you doing? Great to have you. Cedric, there are so many galaxies and super cluster of galaxies. There are other worlds right now with intelligent life and more developed. I mean, probability speaking, from probabilities, Cedric, you're right. Okay, a lot of scientists have said that, physicists, many people have said this, just based on the probabilities with all the suns and all the solar systems, you're probably right. Okay. Pumpkin, what's going on, man? Good to have you. Let's see who else we got in here. Give them some quick shout outs. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll. Let's do it. That's right, SRP Valkyrie Echo Chamber. Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, guys. So there are 3 levels of this problem. Okay, don't forget to vote in our poll. Okay, let me read the poll really quickly while we're at it. Here's my poll. Here's the poll question. For those of you new here, welcome. Welcome to the best chat in YouTube, okay? We have the best chat in YouTube. And before we even get into the poll, I'm going to give a round of applause to the best chat in YouTube, okay? Because that's not just coming from me, but everybody that comes to the channel always remarks how this is the smartest chat, most intelligent chat, most mature, coolest. You can agree, you can disagree, you can debate, you can argue, and everybody's really cool, okay? We do have some certain rules, though. Don't get all sideways and get all crazy and start doing nutty stuff that'll get us canceled or get us shut down or get the stream shut down, or else then you will be banned and you'll be gone. All right. But welcome. Big cheers for the best chat on YouTube really fast, everybody. All right. Get it going. Round of applause for yourselves, damn it. You guys are awesome, okay? So we got a really fantastic show right now. I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. Everybody can hear me just fine. I want to make sure. I'm just going to check the audio. Check the audio. Okay, seems like we are good. You guys will tell me in the chat if anything comes up. So if you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And we're going to get into this, okay? We're going to talk about the architecture of secrecy and just what this means. But before we do that, Joe Saunders, man, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate your support. Thank you. Let me see here. Joe, thank you so much. Happy Memorial Day, Joe. Let me like this. Okay, Joe says, I don't understand the sudden information dump of things long denied, but are not exactly 100% relevant today. What's next this upcoming week? Yes, Elvis alive. That would be really cool. I'd go see him in Vegas. Just saying. I know what you mean. It does seem like that's why that movie came out, The Age of Disclosure. Well, I think a couple of things are in play, okay? And I'm going to answer this in 1 second. Our poll is right here. Vote in the poll. If you're new here, welcome, like, subscribe, and share, okay? And in line with Joe's question, which I'm going to answer really quickly here. Hold on, Joe. Will we ever learn the full truth about UAP and Epstein files? UAPs, yes. Epstein, yes. UAP and Epstein, yes. These are your choices, by the way. And lastly, no, we won't ever know the truth, okay? So far, we have 13 votes. 8% say yes, we will learn the full truth about UAPs. 92%. This is the trust collapse I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about, okay, everybody? This is it exactly in a nutshell. 92% say no, we won't ever know the truth about either of these things. But if this isn't the trust collapse, I don't know what is, okay? This is the trust collapse I'm talking about. When you keep on, it's like the boy who cried wolf. You keep crying wolf, 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 wolf. The wolf's never there. Eventually, when the wolf comes to the door, nobody's going to believe you, okay? So this is exactly what I'm talking about. You guys have reflected it in the poll. And if you haven't voted in the poll yet, please vote in the poll, okay? But let me get to Joe's question now. All right, Joe, here we go. I don't understand the sudden information dump of things long denied, but are not exactly 100% relevant today. What's next this upcoming week? Yes, Elvis is alive in Las Vegas. Just saying. Okay. So, Joe, here's what I think. I think that based upon information technology changes, social media, ubiquity of cameras, cameras are everywhere on every phone. Everyone has this computer, right? We all have this little computer here that can take video, audio, it's a super empowered, like a supercomputer from the 60s, basically. Can do all these things. Sharing at viral speed, sharing with the world at scale, okay? Investigative reporters are super powered now, okay? And so I think even the invention of TV interviews, investigative journalism. And we live in a democracy, right, where it's not a totalitarian government. Notice you don't see the stuff starting in Russia. Notice you don't see the stuff starting in China. Do they have stuff? Yeah. They've talked about this in the files, okay? China, Russia, other countries have things. If you look at a lot of the files I posted, the Persian Gulf has tons of UAPs flying around, okay? Every nuclear program, I believe, from what I've heard, every nuclear weapons site in the world has UAPs checking it out, okay? So here's what I think. Bob Lazar, for example, the first original big-time whistleblower about the UAPs at Groom Lake and the Area 51 facility. S4 is the name of where he worked within the whole Area 51 facility, which I think is like 82 miles northeast of Las Vegas, something like that, okay? So he was able to do a televised interview, right? And it was broadcast to the world. And the reason why he did that was to protect himself, okay? So previously, isolation meant, they kept it secret because what are they going to do, tell the paper? Okay, they might tell the paper. That might get out a little bit, right? But it wasn't the same as television and seeing somebody and people asking about them, people getting in the public mind and releasing videos, information. So that's what I think, first of all, there was a chance for somebody to tell something, a whistleblower, and survive it. Okay, that's one thing. And I think technology allows people to record things and take pictures and steal information, right? Even shipping technology. How do you get tapes to someone, right? All these things like that. I think technology's made a difference. I think the next thing is this, is that we are in a critical moment in our political history in the United States right now, where people since probably Vietnam timeframe, J. Edgar Hoover, the civil rights movement, all these things like that, people have lost a tremendous amount of trust in the government. World War II, I think we were at a very high point. We had a common enemy. We defeated the Axis with Nazi Germany, all these things like that. Okay. And then from there, we came to realize, we went right back to war in Korea, big, major conventional war, right? And right back to war again in Vietnam. Everybody started questioning, what are we doing? All we do is go to war all the time. Eisenhower warned about this, the military-industrial complex. He warned in Secrecy that there are secret programs and secret information that are only being held by a few people in power that are cycling into government, out of government, into these private corporations like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, you name it, okay? SAIC. I'm just making these things up, okay? Again, and I don't have any. This is just me using them as an example. I don't actually have information other than Boeing Skunk Works, okay? Very secretive. But I don't actually have information on that, just to say that, not to disparage someone unless I have actual evidence or proof. But for example, these big companies, they cycle in and out of the government. And what he was saying is that it's beneficial to them, okay, to keep secrets about things, to hold on to things, to withhold things. It's beneficial to them to steer the course of our country, okay, because they can make money and they can enrich themselves, enrich their families. They can leave a legacy. They can seize the levers of power and control the government and the course of the most powerful country on earth by doing these things. So not only are they elected officials in power, then they go in power of the massive defense military companies, massive private contractor intelligence companies, massive information technology companies. And they cycle in and out of government, right? Into government, back into the private sector, back into government, usually political appointees. This is how you form a deep state, okay? And I, again, at the risk of sounding like a conspiracy theorist, this to me is what the deep state is. It's people who withhold secrets from the secret holders, who have been there longer. These are like old aging lizards, right? Like, a Leviathan hidden at the bottom of the government and the bottom of the deep, so to speak. Now, am I going to say all of them are bad? No. Some of them really believe they're protecting the republic, protecting the country, real secrets. Some of them may genuinely have believed that withholding the secrets about UAPs, UFOs were important because they're like, we don't know what they are, and we think we'll create mass hysteria and panic, okay? That's why, though, we have elected officials. This is why we have an elected official that should be in the know about these things, okay? They have the trust and confidence of the people. Unelected officials should not be the ones controlling what people know about, okay? So, and so it's there's a government governing the government. There's a government of bureaucrats and appointees governing the elected officials like they're children. Like we're all stupid, okay? So the people are stupid. The elected officials are stupid. I'm just giving you, Joe, this is just my take. Everyone, I'm just answering Joe's question right now, okay? You can all see it up there. And that's what I think. So I think with the collapse of trust, like I said, the degradation of trust for a long, long time, war after war after war after war, okay? And then 9/11 happened, okay? And here's what I want to say. This 9/11 happened, okay, not because the CIA is the one that orchestrated. I definitely debunk that's bullshit, okay? The CIA did not orchestrate this, okay? That's as far as I know. I want to say that, okay? You can believe what you want to believe. That's my belief based upon, 23 years in the military, active duty, holding all kinds of clearances, working in the interagency, all these things like that. But what I do will say, they didn't orchestrate it, but the government agencies together with their stovepiping, compartmentalization, not talking to each other, playing I have a secret from the other secret keepers and from the elected officials, didn't inform each other. We knew about the elements, the personnel, the people, the pilot training, okay? We knew there were threats. Ramzi Youssef was caught in 1995 in the Philippines. He was an Al-Qaeda operative, a head Al-Qaeda operations guy. His ultimate design was to crash the World Trade Center. And he was doing a practice run in the Philippines by hijacking planes. He got caught before he could do it. But he had it all written down. They caught it in a raid. Okay? But guess what? One secret keeper didn't want to tell the other secret keeper because knowledge is power. Information is power. We seem better, and we might get more money for our budget than the CIA if the FBI holds it, so on and so forth, okay? So because of that, there was no coordination, and we had massive gaps between the intelligence agencies and law enforcement also. Now you have the joint interagency and fusion intelligence cells, all these things like that. Okay, Joe? So I'm getting a long-winded answer from 23 years of experience and observation and writing papers on this stuff too, okay? And that's how that happened. But we realized then we need to change because the terrorists can move faster than we can. And along the way, as we started, we were like this before, okay? CIA, FBI, State Department, law enforcement of all types, okay? ICE, border patrol, Customs and Border Patrol, all these things, all separate, okay? And then you have intelligence service after intelligence service, and the Pentagon's over here, the biggest and the baddest, the biggest budget. Like, yeah, we don't need to talk to anybody. We got our own intelligence. NSA actually folds under the Pentagon. We got everything we need. We don't need any of you, actually, okay? Really funny, okay? They have the biggest budget. Trust me. I know how that goes. They come. Can we get some of those Pentagon dollars? No, sorry, you can't, right? And they have all kinds of titles and authorities with the Pentagon. They run the NSA, basically, more or less, okay? So what I want to say is that when they started cross-pollinating and going like, they were like this, they started going like this, okay? Or even weaving, lots of knowledge of other programs and things started coming up. And people started realizing, holy crap, there's a secret to the secret and a secret guarder watching the secret guarder. Who's watching this guy? And you realize government contractors who used to be in government are now holding the ultimate secret. And then they cycle back in as appointees and they go back out, okay? Some of these people are polygraphed. Some of them are not, okay? So the people who have a full scope polygraph tend to look down on those who don't. Like, I am the true secret keeper. You are not. But who's the one that's giving the rubric, the grading key to the polygrapher, right? You will look for these things. You will ask these questions. Whoever controls that is controlling a lot of access and authority, okay? And so then so on and so forth, and a lot of exposure. And I think people started knowing more about these things. And then in this political situation in our own country where, the people want to know more. They don't want to be lied to anymore. Representatives are catching on that the way to actually get elected and stay elected is to try to ride this wave of disclosure, okay? And along the way, just like any good football team, you need to start quarterback and start running back, okay? Bob Lazar came along the way, but then, okay, oh gosh, what's his name? Jeremy Corbell, who just wrote The Lying Dogs. He's the guy that's behind the scenes. And the one that interviewed Bob Lazar, let me see his name really quickly. A big investigative journalist, okay? These guys were major movers, and people started sending them stuff. And all the research I've done, people started sending them secret packages, doing dead drops in the middle of the night, burying stuff in the desert, giving them coordinates to go pick it up, okay? Like real spy stuff. They started getting all kinds of information on UAPs, UFOs, all right? And now they started pushing Congress saying, look, I have this stuff. So they started saying, look, I'm going to go public with this, but you can be the one tied to it, and you can look really good, okay? So that's how it went, okay? And so then all of a sudden you started having the congressional UAP hearings, Nancy Mace, Representative Burchett, and we're going to hit some videos from them in a second here, okay? And they started leading this charge, okay? Because the whole thing with the Epstein files, and I think a lot of the political movers and shakers, okay, probably from both parties, but especially the MAGA movement, was trying to really push on transparency to the people and all this stuff. Little did we know, there's a lot of sneakiness going on still, right, with the Epstein files and all that. But Joe, that's a very long-winded way to answer your question. I hopefully I answered. Did that answer your question, Joe? Any follow-on questions from that? Just want to make sure I answered Joe's question. All right, awesome. Let's see. Okay. And Jason, was that Brian Plummer, what's going on, man? Good to have you here. Okay. That's good? Okay. Good to go. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Glad it answered the question for you. That's my take on it, okay? But I think, today you have a lot of these investigative journalists. Well, not a lot of them, a few of them. I can't remember the guy's name right now. I'll picture his face. You know who I'm talking about. Investigative journalist. I'm going to look him up real quick. Who interviewed Bob Lazar. I keep always forgetting his name. Jeremy Corbell is the newer version of Bob Lazar, of this guy. George Knapp. Okay? That's who it is. I'll pull him up on the screen here really quickly. Yeah, this is George Knapp, everybody. Okay. Let me see here. All right, this is him. This is George Knapp. Just so we're all tracking, okay? That's him. All right, let's get to this first video now. We got to get into this. I didn't think I was going to do a 30-minute explanation on that question, but it's a big question, and it's a great question. It is a great question. I had somebody in the comments on my video, my latest video I put out Sunday. If you haven't watched it yet, please watch it. Check it out. I think it explains a lot. Asked me if they're lying for 75 years, why should we? And hopefully I just explained through. There are different types of they, thems, the government people. They're the elected officials. They're the secret keepers, the intelligence officials who cycle in and out of government. They're the appointees, okay? Then they're the unacknowledged. We're going to talk about this too, the unacknowledged special access programs, which is a whole nother ball of wax, which is where the CIA legacy crash program allegedly lives, okay? The legacy crash program where they've recovered crashed UAPs, okay? So in the unacknowledged special access programs is where our tax dollars will go to do R&D for new aircraft and apparently for UAPs. So we're going to learn about that, guys. We're going to get into it. All right, let's watch this first video. Okay. And right before I kick this off, I'm going to go right here, okay? We're going to hear, and this is an example of a president not knowing. Actually, that's not the first one I watched. Yeah, it is. Okay, that's the first one. Okay. But here's the problem. Here is the architecture of secrecy for this whole thing. There are 3 levels of the problem. Number 1, hiding it from the public. This is the part we all know about, okay? Number 2, hiding it from elected oversight. I talked about this just now in my answer to Joe. Congress, Senate, intelligence community, even presidents. We're going to show that in a second in the video. Number 3, hiding it within the government itself. Programs so compartmentalized that you need to know the code name just to have access. Okay, Representative Nancy Mace talked about this, that she was grilling someone on the Hill. You know, this is sworn testimony. Is there this program? Well, do you know the code name of the program? Well, I don't know the code name. Well, if you don't know the code name, I can't talk about it. Okay? That's how they get around lying. They hide the code name. It's so secret, no one knows. Only way you can talk about it is if you know the code name. So they could even just stay silent or answer yes or no, but not say the code name and therefore never give you anything else. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. All right, let's watch this real quick and put your questions in the chat, and I will get to them in a minute.
They're real, but I haven't seen them. And
aliens real? Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. Well, he made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
Well, welcome back to Special Report. No concrete answers there from the presidents yet, but a lot of movement on this issue. The Age of Disclosure is a documentary revealing, it says, an 80-year cover-up of the existence of non-human intelligent.
All right, so President Obama there was saying, you know, the aliens exist, they do, but they're not in Area 51. Technically, according to Bob Lazar, Age of Disclosure, Sleeping Dogs, all these different documentaries, technically he would be correct because it's supposed to be at a place called S4. Okay, that's within this whole complex. Okay, this Nevada desert, you know, dry lake complex. And they even built hangars in the side of the mountains and covered them up with like a sand-like covering so you can't detect it by satellite. But new satellites now can detect it. And I recently saw something where it shows, previously they would scan right over it and see nothing, but now they can show differences in heat and things like that, and they can actually see the outline of what appeared to be hangar doors, the outline of hangar doors in that area, which is wild, is exactly what Bob Lazar had said when he first broke his story, I believe in 1982. Crazy stuff, okay? But really, again, we're talking about the total collapse of trust. That's the purpose of what we're talking about right now, okay? And I'm going to go on to this next little video here.
Human spacecraft.
Officer who answered questions from South Carolina Representative Nancy Mace.
You've stated that the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft. Based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, and I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human?
Yeah, so this is totally wild, right? When he's basically saying, yes, biologics came along, okay? And so again, they've been hiding these things, and how do they hide this for so long? Again, as I talked about, this architecture of secrecy, hiding it from the public, hiding it from elected oversight, hiding it within the government itself. Programs that are so compartmentalized that you need to know the code name just to be allowed to hear that it exists, okay? And there she is. You see, he's not giving away everything. He's just saying, yes, it exists, and they're there, biologics, but he can't talk about it in this setting. Watch a little bit more here.
Human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
in efforts to cover up.
Retired Air Force Major David Gooch testified that the United States is concealing a long-standing program that retrieves and reverse engineers UFOs. The Pentagon has denied his claims. Democrats and Republicans in recent years have pushed for more research as a national security matter due to concerns.
All right, I'm going to go back to this one really fast, okay? I think there's a little bit more to look at here. All right, put your questions in the chat, everybody. I'm going to jump in the chat here in a minute.
Life and a secret war amongst major nations to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin, now available to rent or buy on Prime Video. Let's talk about these latest developments in the search for answers about UFOs, UAPs, and intelligent life, not from.
But again, this goes back into what Eisenhower was talking about so long ago, okay, when he said we have to know that there is a military-industrial complex that is being developed right now. We have to guard against this military-industrial complex. Let me see if I can find that really fast for you guys. Okay. Okay, here we go. I think I found it. All right. Here we go.
I come to you with a message of leave-taking and farewell.
This speech did not get very much attention. When a new president is coming to power, as John Kennedy was, the spotlight was not on Dwight Eisenhower.
We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions.
There was a feeling at the time that this must have been written by some speechwriter who just sneaked into the speech.
In the councils of government.
Now remember, guys, look at this right here. Okay, hold on. The date on here, 1961. Okay, 1961 is the date. And what's significant about this, the UAP files go all the way back to 1947. I believe even before that. No, in World War II, there were sightings of, they called them like little fireflies around the bombers that were bombing Germany. Okay? And now let's talk about history, though. In history, they've talked about UFOs for so long, about UAPs. They didn't know what they were. Okay? And again, not going conspiracy cuckoo on you guys here. I'm not putting the tinfoil hat on. All right? Although I'd like to. All right? But I'm not putting it on. But what I am saying is that this stuff starts to feel a little bit crazy, like maybe there's really something here. Okay? You can take this speech differently now. When you hear it, when you think, did they have a retrieved craft? Because they're saying they did by this time. Bob Lazar said they had it by this time. By the time Eisenhower gave this speech. Listen.
Vast proportions.
There was a feeling at the time that this must have been written by some speechwriter who just sneaked into the speech.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
3 months ago, we got contacted by a family up in Minnesota saying that we have documents from Malcolm Moose. He was responsible in part for drafting the military-industrial complex speech.
These new papers give us written evidence that this was not just some caprice of Eisenhower's or something by some speechwriter.
You see the evolution of his speech from May 1959.
Okay, so the bottom line is that Eisenhower was being very deliberate about this, and there was good reason. My point in bringing this up for everybody is that yes, it's very possible, okay, and that he was writing the speech about the military-industrial complex for exactly the reasons that I discussed, the chain of events I discussed, okay, in answering Joe's question, that, you know, they had something, and because they had secrets of something, they knew they could do something with it, but they needed to protect the secret and then to, as quickly as possible, build a massive military-industrial base. Now, okay, Ben, common sense, let's put on the other hat. Okay, look at the opposing argument. Ben, common sense would say they just had World War II. And that's why they wanted a massive military-industrial complex to never be without weapons, armaments, and to be the most powerful nation in the world. I agree that is a true thing, okay? However, when you have a U.S. president saying it's a problem, I think part of the problem was that he's saying that these people in the corporations, in the defense corporations that are becoming massive, with massive money, massive influence, political ties coming in and out of government, they're keeping secrets from the president, even Eisenhower, who who commanded the D-Day invasion, who freed, France. He basically won World War II. He's like the freaking Tom Brady of World War II, right? All right, to put it in my simple terms, okay? So he's coming back. He's in Fallout. I think it's Fallout. Is it Fallout, that new show? The show with like the zombie ghost guy. He's like a zombie cowboy. I think it's Fallout. But there's some wacky characters in there that run these like defense super companies that run the world, basically, more than the elected leaders, anyone else. Okay, that's what it makes me think of. This is, I think, what Eisenhower was talking about. Probably less about the aliens and UFOs, but about the secret keeping. Again, our purpose right now is we're talking about the engineering of cover-ups, the architecture of secrecy, how they can keep the public in hidden, how they can keep the public in the dark. How can they keep the public in the dark? What's the architecture of this? It starts back after World War II when these defense corporations, intelligence corporations, they're cycling in and out of government between political appointee back to private company, political appointee back to private company, or they just embed themselves in intelligence agencies and stay there forever. And they're the ones who know where all the bodies are buried, okay? And remember, knowledge is power, information is power. Knowing the actual true history of things is power, okay? And so all of these things led Eisenhower to give this speech. All right, let's let it go for just 5 more seconds. Let's see.
To 1961.
And he wanted to give this speech for a long time, 2 years.
Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime.
Whoa. See that? Our military organization today bears little resemblance to anything the military known to any of my predecessors during peacetime.
Or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea.
There was one person in Dwight Eisenhower's life who he really confided almost everything to, and that was his brother Milton.
There's one particular document where the speechwriters had already drafted their version of the speech, only to see Milton come along and totally revamp what had already been written.
When Milton Eisenhower was taking notes and writing things on the draft.
Okay, guys, again, you can see Eisenhower, he said, wanted to give this speech about the military-industrial complex 2 years before he gave it. He gave it in 1961. He wanted to give it in 1959. He's saying today's military, a peacetime military, bears little resemblance to anything my predecessors had known or the fighting men and women of World War II had known. Everything is changing. Okay, now we had World War II, then Korea. Okay, questionable also the whole reasoning for going into Korea. Okay, I think this was MacArthur's swan song. All right, where MacArthur was fired, had to resign. All right, another major war. And so he's saying things started to change. The military was no longer like it was in a constant state of readiness. It didn't stand down, okay? And then this huge defense establishment that needed to support it. So if all these people are getting really powerful with all this money, all this influence, have all this political power, legacy, massive generational wealth, you got to justify keeping it going. The way to justify keeping it going is to say there's someone to fight out there, always. Okay? So this is what he was saying. He's saying that, the military-industrial complex, meaning we build this hammer. Now we have the hammer. We got to go find some nails to whack. Okay? Keep building hammers because hammers break. We need more hammers. Okay? And they're having a huge industry of building hammers. Okay? Very simple terms, but that's what he was talking about. Again, we're talking about right now is the architecture of secrecy. How do these compartments start happening? Start to happen? Well, first of all, you need a massive base of power that's almost untouchable, okay, connected to national security, connected to everyone's well-being, connected to the tax base, and they have this power, and then they can start putting the secrets inside it. When the government got a hold of UAPs, the military did, they said, yeah, put it in the intelligence community. No. Freedom of Information Act, they have to give it up. Put it in the government contractors. Put it there. Joe Saunders, man, thank you so much, brother. No, keep them coming, Joe. Keep them coming. Ask as many questions as you want. And first of all, I owe Joe Saunders a round of applause from the last time. Everyone, big round of applause for Joe Saunders. Big round of applause. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your support. All right, let's get to the question. Okay. And let me give you a big thank you here. I'm using it on my phone. It's easier. All right. So let me get to your question. So Joe's asking, okay, last question. You don't have to make it the last question. Keep it coming, man. It's awesome. Let's see here. Okay, I'm pulling it up. I will be good for the rest of the session. We can't cure cancer, but we can retrieve, reverse engineer extraterrestrial tech. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree, Joe. It's a great question, and it's nuts to think about. But let me say this, okay? I think what I've heard, again, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. Tinfoil. What do I have here around here that's tinfoil? Okay, I got this. I got this little thing. All right, it's like some gum. I'm going to put the gum hat on my head, and I'm going to believe right now, okay? So I got the gum. Hold on, I can stick it under here. When I put this on, I can talk alien stuff. Okay, so Bob Lazar said, you guys see I got the tinfoil hat on? All right, the tinfoil hat's on there. If you're not watching, you better look. It's the last time this tinfoil hat's going to go on. So Bob Lazar had said in his testimony, okay, I'm highly skeptical. That's why the tinfoil hat's on. Just to let you know, I'm about to say some craziness, okay? He said, crashed, some of them were gifted to us, and some of it came, and he even laughed when I saw his documentary. He said, look, I just am telling you what the report said, okay? Some of it came from an agreement that the Earth authorities, the U.S. government, had with the extraterrestrials. Okay, tinfoil hat's coming off. I said it, all right? So what I want to say, though, Joe, is that for your question is this, that we didn't create all this stuff. And some of the stuff we can't reverse engineer. Some of the stuff they gave us the keys to it and said, this is how you do it. That's what he said, okay? I don't know. But because you would think if we could reverse engineer all this stuff, how couldn't we cure cancer? By the way, I think we're actually getting closer and closer, according to what a lot of research has said. They think within the next few years we're going to, because they're discovering through AI, running so many models, they're discovering things that work faster. Okay, by the way, we'll do a separate live stream on that, probably a separate video on some of that stuff too, tech breakthroughs. But this is part of it though too, Joe, is that, some of that technology, most of it we cannot deal with. We can't figure it out, okay? Most of it we don't have Earth elements that can function like that. Like we can't find the gravitational field that makes these aircraft fly, as he said, okay? Because Bob Lazar said that there is a gravitational field that they're able to generate around the craft. That's how it flies, okay? It's this like field around it, and basically it puts the craft in a constant state of basically falling, and it creates like these these forces that they don't push thrust out the back. It pulls it in the direction it's going. Really strange. I don't understand it. I don't know. And they have also a fuel source that is they've tried to replicate here on Earth, but I don't think they've had success with doing that, from what he said. Again, tinfoil hat was on, everybody. Okay, just so you know, the tinfoil hat was there. I have to say that, so I'm very skeptical of it. I'm just repeating information that was said. Okay, back to you. But again, Joe, I think a big thing is that I think, and with Joe's question, is actually very profound. This is a deep question with huge implications. Okay, here's why. Joe asking the question, and me giving the answer I gave, or actually, and thus saying that we can't figure out cancer, but we figured out all this other stuff, makes me think, based on Joe's question, which I haven't considered before, maybe Bob Lazar is telling the truth. Maybe if we, okay, big ifs, big assumptions. Again, in strategy, what do? We test our assumptions, right? We look at, first of all, I'm making a big assumption here that we have evidence for, but we don't have proof, because evidence does not form proof. Remember that, okay? Just because you can see something, you got a couple things, doesn't form full proof. Okay, so we don't have proof yet. We have evidence of UAPs. There's lots of evidence, but we don't have, irrefutable proof. But Joe's question poses a great question, and I believe gives more credibility to the fact that, if we had these UAPs, why wouldn't we be able to cure cancer? Okay, makes you think that we don't have them. But if we do, and that becomes true, then it forms more credibility and believability in what Bob Lazar said, saying that some of this stuff was just given to us. Okay? Anyway, crazy stuff to consider. Anyway, Joe, that's my best attempt at your question there. Does that help? Does that answer it? What's going on, guys? All right, I'm going to jump in the chat here. See what you guys got in the chat for me. Brian Plummer. Awesome. All right, I saw some of you guys say that I was frozen. Am I frozen still on your end? Give me a 1 in the chat if you guys can see me okay. Want to make sure I'm not frozen. Okay, I'm good. Okay, thanks, Phoenix. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Okay, video's frozen. Audio's 5x5. Okay, good. Okay, but now did it catch? Is it still frozen? Not good? Okay. Thanks, Jason. Let me see what's going on here. I don't understand. This is turning into like a radio show, right? Hey, Mark, thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate it. Big round of applause for Mark. Well, we still got audio. I don't know why the video's down. Let me make sure my camera's not off. Camera should be going good. It says it's good. It says camera's up and running. Let me see. Got to give a round of applause to Mark real fast, though. Big round of applause for Mark. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. All right. Well, you guys don't have to look at me. You can hear me, right? Like Tommy and the Who, like I always say. It lost signal, Ben. It's your tin. I wonder if the tinfoil hat did. Let me put it back on. Okay, tinfoil's back on. I got it on my head. Hocus pocus. It works. Does it work? You guys see me? Here, I'm going to kick a video. Let me start a video. Maybe that'll help. All right, I'm going to start a video. I'm going to teach this thing a lesson. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like, you bang something, like you bang a lawnmower doesn't want to start. You smash it a little bit with a hammer, and next thing you know, it starts. Let me just see if I can I'm going to smash it with a video. Let's see. Work, damn it. Work. All right, here we go. Check this out.
Earth. Joining us is Dan Farah, director and producer of the documentary The Age of Disclosure. Dan, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
And we had you
now?
on at the beginning, well before your film was out. Now this topic has moved forward, and arguably the documentary has had a major issue in moving that forward with the president's disclosure order.
Yeah. I think we're at a.
All right, guys. Let me try to. Let me see what I can do here. Still lagging? Okay, I'm still frozen. Froze? Not yet. Okay. Video works. Joe Saunders says video works. Okay. I'm still a Disney character. Your screen is off. Okay. Works. It's China. I think it's China. I got to get in the tinfoil. It's fixed, Lady Ann. Nope, just caught up. Okay. Okay, my feed is frozen. Fixed. Brian Plummer fixed. I'm good now. I'm back. China. You know why? Because we said China. And because it's China. Come back here, damn it. Nobody's allowed to leave. China. Once we know it's China. Once we called them out, they opened it back up. All right, be nice to us now. Be nice to us, Cyber Attack Battalion. But we know they're out there. All right, hat's coming back. You guys didn't see the hat yet? Did you guys see the hat? Tell me if you saw the hat. If you didn't see the hat, I got to put it back on. I need to get a real tinfoil hat. All right, Mark, we're good. Awesome. Thank you, man. Thanks so much for bringing that to my attention. The little alert you sent me for the support. I'm going to make this go freeze more often. I'm just kidding. All right, check this out. This is my hat. This is the tinfoil hat I had out. I stuck it under here. If it freezes, we know something's going on. It's the freaking aliens. That's exactly what it is. Hold on. All right. Yes, I am a retired Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel, and I'm doing this. If you just thought about, I just thought about that. And I know some of my guys are probably thinking about that. But yep, guys, I've lost it. Seriousness now, damn it. I don't do things like that. I am Lieutenant Colonel Pappas. I don't do anything like that, damn it. Watch the video now. Very serious again, once more. All right, we're back. Or as Jimmy Fallon used to say, and we're back. We're back. One more time. Here we go. All right, here we go, guys. Ready?
Turning point in human history here, a major turning point in which the truth is finally coming out that humanity is not the only intelligent life in the universe. I think we're entering this age in which the U.S. government will start to reveal all it has learned over the last 80 years.
Whoa. I can't remember. He's a filmmaker, but he just challenged the wisdom and genius of our freaking live stream super chat group. He challenged what we believe. Or what the poll says. Nobody's allowed to challenge the poll. He said, I believe we're in an age where the U.S. government's going to start telling the truth. Not according to our poll, which 4 hours ago I posted it. Again, nobody was here. So we have 27 votes. Will we ever learn the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth, about UAP and Epstein files? UAPs, yes, 19%. Epstein, yes, 0%. Again, why this live stream is titled The Collapse of Trust. It's because that's where we're at. And if you were here in the beginning, if not, rewind afterwards. Watch me answer Joe's question, okay? I thought it was pretty good. I think you guys thought it was pretty good. But I'm going to go with it. I think it's a pretty good answer. Watch it. Will we ever learn the full truth about UAP and Epstein files? 11% say yes, UAP and Epstein. Cool. That's nice. And guess what? 70% overwhelming no. We won't ever know the truth. This is what we got going on, everybody. And this guy, super smart guy, Age of Disclosure is a very good documentary. If you haven't watched it, I suggest it. Very cool to watch. I like all this stuff in the first place, all right? But let's rewind what he says one more time. Here's what he's saying. He's saying we don't know what we're talking about.
Here's about this.
The disclosure.
Hold on. To only intelligent life in the universe. I think we're entering this age in which the U.S. government will start to reveal all it has learned over the last 80 years about this.
Why would he say all it has learned? Come on. You know we're not going to learn all it's learned in the past 80 years. We're going to learn some. Okay? For example, there are still classified things out there. There's still things we can't talk about. And even if we sit there and smash our fists and say, I want to know everything that's going on. Every secret you guys have. Well, you know what? Some things you can't know, okay? Some things are classified, right? I think they could come out and tell us, look, we have found this stuff. We have biologics. We got craft. Here's the evidence of it. I shouldn't say it's not good enough, actually. Not anymore. Oh, my God. What am I even talking about? I got to put the tinfoil hat back on. Get cured of this, okay? Okay, good. I'm cured. Now, what I'm saying is that we, the people, need to see it. Okay, not everything, but enough to make us say, okay, all right, you got a freaking craft and you got biologics. Now turn to and get it done. Like I said, the aliens aren't coming here and paying my freaking bills. People have even said, oh my God, Ben, that's because the aliens are using us as food and they're harvesting us. I don't give a shit. Honestly, they're not paying my bills. You know, more or less we have the same lifespan. Nothing's changed. They didn't cure cancer, did they, Joe Saunders? No, they didn't. So, okay, if the aliens are here, do something. Put on a show. Fly around. Make it entertaining. At least this is entertaining right now. Okay? That's how a lot of Americans think, I think. So, but I want to know, I think we do deserve to know if there's some civilization-changing thing that's about to happen or has been happening. We should be told that. Okay? But now, there are still things that are classified out there, right? Because it'll compromise sources and methods that our country uses to keep our military advantage and our advantage in diplomacy and negotiation, economically, all those things like that, okay? And against our adversaries, from countries that would like to see us destroyed, that don't like us, that would like to take our spot, okay? All that stuff is very real. And so I think, we're not going to see everything. He's saying we're going to see all they've learned. No, come on. We're going to be fed enough that people calm down and say, okay, I guess there is something. Okay, I guess they do have some craft. But they got to scramble and figure something out to be like, okay, here's an alien body. We found it. In Italy, they found this caveman they call Otzi. They found him in the ice. Okay, I got to visit this because I lived in Italy for 3 years. Up on the border of Austria, the glaciers were thawing out. Some hikers came across a body. Turns out this is like I don't know how old he is. He's like 10,000 years old or maybe 20 or 30,000 years old. Caveman, like a Neanderthal man, complete with his arrows and kit. Turns out another tribe had shot him with arrows and killed him, hunted him down, okay? I don't know what's happened. I think he might have, stolen the local other tribe's princess or something, or stole their food or something like that, as things would go back then. And so Otzi's there. They need to have like an Otzi-like event. Put a 1 in the chat if you know what I'm talking about with Otzi. You guys, not Ozzy. Miss Ozzy. God, I cried when Ozzy died. Tell you what. But Otzi the caveman. Look him up. Fact check me. He's in Italy, okay? On the border of Austria. Look up this caveman, Otzi. Put a 1 in the chat if you heard about Otzi before. Or I'm just talking nonsense, okay? I'm like speaking gibberish. No one knows what I'm saying. That's not good. All right? Okay, no, Pumpkin, you don't know about it? Okay. I'm going to pull up Otzi. I'm going to pull up Otzi for you guys last time. Let's check. Let's see. Otzi the caveman. Let's see what I can find. Oh, here it is. Dude, they're making this guy look like a movie star. I think he got hunted down for doing what I said. All right. Here we go. This is Otzi right here. And this is also Otzi. Okay? He looks a lot better than what he actually looks like right here. This is the one I saw. This is the guy I saw right here. Okay? But pretty well preserved. If they have an Otzi-like moment for us and they say, hey, they could have shown us Otzi. They could have been like, look, here's the alien. We found him. Okay? And then they show testing, not of this world, carbon testing. The thing's 1,000 years old. And, but the question I have, and this is going to be our new poll, because this is a big question right now. The question I have is this, and I want to know what you guys think. Okay, 28 votes. We're going to end this poll. People don't think anything is coming out. Maybe the UAPs. It looks like it's coming out a little bit. Okay. Here's the question I have. And this is going to be a good one, so stand by for this poll question. If they produce a craft and alien body, would that be enough for you? Okay, if they produce an alien body, produce a craft, put a 1 in the chat if you think that's enough. If they produced a craft and alien body, would that be enough for you? Or do you need more? Because the question is this, is that how much is enough? With trusted expert, I'm going to say trusted experts. I need verification. I need to, okay, see, I need to verify, sorry, I'm writing this. I need verify with a trusted expert. Let's say with an expert. See it? If they produce a craft, an alien body, would that be enough for you? Or do you need more? Yes, no, I need to verify with expert. And I mean that it would be yes, but I need to verify with an expert. You need to verify with an expert. Okay, 50-50, no. 33% yes. See, because this is the thing, is that where does it stop? Well, we need to know. You know what I mean? So there's some stuff like I said, I've worked in joint interagency, in the military, Marine Corps, special operations, intelligence community. I've been in all these things, okay? And I'm going to tell you that they will never reveal things that are sources and methods that could compromise safety, national security, our competitive advantage, okay? They're not going to do that stuff. So it's, at some point, but at some point we have to say it's enough. But I want to say, it's not on us. Let me just say this really quick, okay? This is not on us, or we the people. This is not on the people. The collapsing of trust the degradation, the ruining, the collapse of trust is what causes this, because no one believes anything. We don't believe what's up, what's down, what's sideways. We don't believe the streetlights are going to work. You don't believe the money works. I mean, when you start really not believing and not trusting, boy, you're in trouble. And by the way, I've talked about this before. This was a KGB strategy, a plan. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they talked about this. They want to destroy public trust in institutions and the government and elected officials, and they're going to do anything they can to compromise our leaders, compromise our institutions, plant things, fake things, so that the first step to conquering the United States, this is one of their plans. Okay, I'm going a lot of directions, but we're talking about trust, the collapse of trust. If you're a leader with a business, if you run a Fortune 100 company, a Fortune 500 company, I've coached executives, okay, that are my clients in Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500. I've had, business owners, founders, all these things like that, leaders of industry. If you don't have trust, your people don't trust you because of your actions, and you're withholding information, you're not telling them what they need to know, you're not being transparent enough, not full transparency in everything, okay? But there's certain things that, obviously might be too much too. And especially if it doesn't impact their work or impact their lives, okay? But I'm saying that you need to make sure trust is very, very well protected and guarded, okay? This is why we're at where we're at. People don't trust, and so therefore nothing is good enough, right? So we got to be able to get back to the point where we believe the word of officials. We believe if someone's a sworn officer, we believe that. That matters. Certification matters. Credentialing matters. All these things, okay? And so one thing I'll say starts to be rebuilt by disclosing things, right? The Epstein files, it's a big one, right? UAP files. The Epstein files are, I know it's in the wind right now. We don't know what the hell's going on with it. Honestly, we're so distracted, all these things like that. But with the aliens, the UFO stuff, this is a starting point where they can start to rebuild trust, okay? Public trust. Very, very important, all right? Okay, let's watch this next video really quickly. So we're going to talk a little bit about the whistleblower moment where Nancy Mace, okay, we talked about that, showed a little bit of that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the unacknowledged special access programs that don't appear on any budget line. Elected officials with top secret clearances can't even know about it, okay, because they didn't know they existed. All right, so let's jump in here. And again, at the risk of this being a benathon on Memorial Day, which I'm totally good with, okay, we're gonna jump in here, okay. But we had to laugh at the filmmaker. He's a great filmmaker. It's a good, Age of Disclosure is a good one. But I laughed when he said, we're going to know all the government knows. I don't think we're going to know all of it. Come on. They don't even know all of it, right? If they don't bring it up and they don't have material to force them to do it or to coerce them, they're going to keep that tucked away and hidden. Some of it might be very damning for careers, for lives, for criminal activity. They say there are these killings going on. If you watch my video again, I talk about, I think it's up to 17 scientists and UAP researchers and officials connected to the program, deep knowledge of the program, are gone, missing over the past few years, okay? Nuts. All right. Real quick. Here, we talk about special access programs. Here we go. Unacknowledged special access programs. Let's watch this.
This is on another level beyond F-14s, F-15s, F-16s. These are the unacknowledged special access programs that we as taxpayers are paying for with no congressional oversight, no public scrutiny. It's going on for sure.
No congressional oversight, no public scrutiny, okay? I want you to really let that set in. This is where the problem is. The architecture of secrecy. You need to have secrecy, okay? You have to. Protect national secrets, national security. However, the unacknowledged special access programs, I understand for technological advantage against our adversaries, right? There's certain things you need to protect. But when it comes to something that's civilization changing, like UAPs, UFOs, alien life, all this stuff like that, come on. This is like, and I want to say this too. Joe, you asked the question earlier and said, why now? Okay. Everyone remember when Joe was asking that, why now? Another thing that I've heard in my research, because you guys know I'm full out deep dive in this thing. Sometimes the tinfoil hat's on, right? Sometimes not. Sometimes on. The thing I heard is this. Recently, over the past 10 years or 15 years, there have been so many sightings, so much activity that they can't help but get control of the releasing of information, because it's going to happen eventually. It's going to be released by journalists, by the pilots, and government has to get a hold of it. That's why I think part of the reason they're saying it's coming at such frequency that it's more than ever before. Now, that also could be from technological developments on our end, on the human end, okay, on the U.S. military's end. Camera developments, different multispectral cameras that can see infrared, they can see heat, they can see all these different areas. Right? A lot of them are classified too, but they can see, like the Predator, switching lenses, right, until it finds what it's looking for. So all this stuff is out there, okay, for reasons why. All right, let's watch a little bit more of this. Pay attention. This is the special access programs, unacknowledged special access.
Here's Joel's illustration.
Now, just so you know, special access programs are very, very secret. Top secret, SCI, special access, meaning you can't talk about it if they're not read into it, okay? They might, if they know the code word, it still doesn't matter. You need to know they're read into it. You can't discuss any of it, okay? A lot of these things have weird names. Like, it could be like, dog in the desert. Are you read into dog in the desert? What did somebody say once? Are you... One of my friends used to make a joke. He's like, hey, are you read into upland gorilla? If you're not read into upland gorilla, I can't talk to you. Okay, we used to make jokes about it because people wear it like, it's like you're a badass. The more you're read in, the more badass you are, okay? And so we make a joke because once you get stiff-armed a few times by people who are read into things, and they're like, well, you're not spaghetti and meatballs, so I only talk to people who know spaghetti and meatballs. Sorry, I'm out of here. We could have that conversation someday. And once you're read into spaghetti and meatball super cat, and if you're not in spaghetti and meatball super cat, I'm not talking to you. Literally, it's like childish a little bit. It's not childish, it's national security, I understand, but it is kind of childish the way they act. There's an arrogance. There's a real palpable arrogance to it, okay? So now, those are special access programs. Then there are unacknowledged, what he's saying, that like the people in the special access don't know this exists. It's off the books. Funding. This is what the architecture is talking about. Funding is not known about, okay? Funds are diverted funds are diverted from real programs to fuel and fund these unacknowledged special access programs, okay? That's what makes them like ultra secret.
Illustration based on Rudy's sketch of what this may have looked like. You can see you've got the cockpit section pulled up. We've got the composite panels. And then what I want to do now is take you through a tour of the already hit the pine tree.
Okay, guys, he's walking us through the crash scene of a recovered craft of what it looked like in 1989. So if you can take a look at your screen right now, this might be kind of cool.
It's already augured in. Pilots have been recovered already. We're going to move on to the next slide here. We've got all the military helicopters. The scene is in full swing now. Go to the next one. This is about a 10-degree look-down angle on the actual scene itself. Now you can see you've got some of the composite panels and some of the fiber optics are actually exposed and visible at this time. The aft sphere is still in place. This is about a 3/4 rear view on the left-hand side. Pilots have already been recovered.
Okay, so I think this, oh my gosh, I don't know what this is. I think this might be a U.S. military. This is a mock-up, right? He's recreating it so you can see what a crash would look like. I don't know if it's supposed to be a UAP crash or if he's recreating a stealth fighter craft. I don't know. Let's watch a little bit more.
And then now this is a top view looking down on the inside of the cockpit section with the tandem co-pilot. Here's some of these boxes that they were used to recover some of the debris. And then here we are moving out one of these spheres with the Super Stallion. Aft view of the craft itself. And what they ended up doing here at this end of the retrieval operation when they recovered all of the composite fibers,
Yeah, no, I don't know what this is. I can't tell if this is supposed to be a UAP or if it's a ultra top secret program of some sort. I've never seen anything like this, but the way the cockpit opens seems very human.
Of the composite aircraft construction, they brought that over to the panel trucks, shipped them out, and then once everything was done, they took these incendiary grenades and blew up this entire operation so that no other material.
Okay, yeah, this is a U.S. Secret Squirrel aircraft tested aircraft of some stealth technology or something. You see there's, symbols, markings on the side of it. Obviously, an alien spacecraft would not have that. So, okay. But the big point of bringing this video up was really about making sure that, we're talking about the unacknowledged special access programs and just how powerful these are. Again, we're talking about the architecture of secrecy, how you have the vanguard of the vanguard, the secret keepers from the secret keepers, right? How people don't know. Congress doesn't know. Elected officials don't know. Government bureaucrats don't know. Ones who really know either retire and leave and keep their secrets, or they go into the contractor world where they don't talk and they leave. And now they're not under FOIA anymore. Okay. And so a lot of ways to keep the secrets. Okay. And what happens again, trust degrades, trust falls apart. All right. So let's keep on rolling here. I got another good one to show you guys. Another one here. All right. Let's listen to Dave Grush real quick. Retired Air Force major. I believe forced retirement after he was a whistleblower.
That sightings observed by pilots may be tied to U.S. enemies.
Okay, we already saw that one. Hold on. We got a better one here. All right, Joe Rogan. Hold on one second, guys. Here we go.
There was this.
Here we go.
Several people in my film talk, but
can you talk about it without?
I know there's been multiple contact events, like straight up, like straight up contact events. One of them is revealed in the film actually, but there are more. There was this. Several people in my film talk about an event that happened at Halleman Air Force Base where two non-human crafts approached the base. One landed. Beings walked out and interacted with Air Force officials and CIA officials.
So that one was supposed to have happened like in the 1940s or 50s, I think. Okay. And if you look at the timing of Eisenhower's speech, the military-industrial complex, the secret keeping, the political control, the growing of the defense industry, the growing of the military, all these things like that, okay? It's all closely connected. But what I want to say here is that he's talking about an event that happened a long time ago. And I've seen a few things about it. I've got to try to look up the actual Pentagon files on it. I don't think they've released anything that talks about this. That's why he's revealing it. It came out in his film, but I don't think this is in the UAP files released in the Pentagon.
And a couple people go on the record talking about that in the film. But there have been other events, I've been told.
How are those beings described?
They were described as tall, slender, humanoid. And the
hell yeah, Brian
another
Plummer.
thing that I heard that gave me chills was that another thing that I heard that gave me chills was that someone involved with a recovery interacted with in his head that said, "You humans don't know your full potential," and that was said to me by a very senior, older guy from the intelligence community. And
that's pretty wild. Okay. Now, you have to put on the tinfoil hat. I have to put the tinfoil hat on in a minute again. Okay. To believe this one. But, you think all these Hollywood movies where the aliens were evil, War of the Worlds, right? When Will Smith, this is, guys, let's be honest, this is pre-slap Will Smith. Pre-Chris Rock slap Will Smith was on fire, man. Will Smith was the man back in the day. This is pre-slap Will Smith. In War of the Worlds, I think it's War of the Worlds when the aliens the aliens are all crazy and making the guy talk like a puppet. And then what do you want us to do? We want you to die. Again, pre-slap Will Smith. I can't even talk anymore. Pre-slap Will Smith. Okay. A whole other ball game right there. You guys remember that? Put one in the chat if you remember pre-slap Will Smith. If you think pre-slap Will Smith, especially in was it War of the Worlds, fighting the aliens was better than he is today, But Will Smith did what he had to do, I guess. Whole other topic there. Whole other topic. Maybe someday we get Will Smith on here and we can ask him. Men in Black. Men in Black movies. There it is. Men in Black. Paul. Thank you, Paul. Exactly. Cedric. This guy is on ayahuasca and DMT. He might be. Cedric. He might be. Cedric, you keep getting hit by minute-long YouTube ads? Well, you should be caught right up, though. They shouldn't interrupt you. Well, that shows that that you guys are doing a great job as a chat. If YouTube is throwing ads in this thing, that means that the chat is power. You guys are doing the job, man. They're like, everybody needs to learn about this chat. Best chat in YouTube. Matter of fact, let's do a quick round of applause for the best chat in YouTube real quick, guys. Everybody, fired up. Give yourselves a round of applause for being awesome. You guys are awesome. All right. And let's get back into our show here. I went off on a tangent there with pre-slap Will Smith. I don't know what's going on.
I thought that was pretty. Don't know your full potential. And that was said to me by a very senior, older.
So the alien said, you humans don't know your full potential when he was dying through mind speak. Okay, I got to do it, guys. I got to do it. The hat has to come on. The tinfoil hat has to come on for the, you don't know your full.
I thought that was pretty incredible. Also, just the extent to which the legacy program is real. This isn't like 50 guys, sitting in a quiet, dark room. You're talking about a massive program with thousands of people going to work every day and dealing with this. And
see, now that's nuts. I've never seen this before. I haven't seen this before, guys, that the legacy crash program at the CIA is thousands of people going to work every day, keeping it secret. Now, the CIA is pretty incredible how they don't really leak. There are very few leaks, okay? I mean, people at the CIA might go against that and say, yes, there are leaks all the time, and we squash them. But I'm saying, like, we don't hear that much. Like big whistleblowers, right? I think, according to some of the movies I've watched, some of these whistleblower documentaries, these people are afraid. These whistleblowers are afraid. They're like people that come after them, that threaten them. They threaten them legally. They threaten them, losing clearance, losing job, losing money, losing the ability to provide for yourself. But then also lives are threatened. Again, 17 have disappeared. I'm gonna play my video right now, because it's my video, damn it. But where I talk about this, okay? If you haven't seen my second video I released on Sunday, you got to watch it, okay? I like to think it's pretty good. 75 years. That's how long the United States government has known. On Friday, May 22nd, the Pentagon released 64 new classified UAP files. All right, okay, that's all true, Ben, but I want to get to this one, okay? I want to get to what I really want to talk about. Hey, and it's in chapters too, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, it's in chapters, so you can watch little bite-sized pieces. But I want to talk about the missing scientists, okay? Here we go. Explained what that is. This was filmed on a cell phone. Imagine what military censored captured that night. The footage hasn't been released. Now, guys, if you haven't seen my latest video on Sunday, just watch it. I'm telling you, not just because it's my video, but I obviously I put the things that I think are the most interesting in there, and I talk about the things that are most interesting to me. So please check it out. I think you get a lot out of it. If you haven't liked, subscribed, and shared today, please do. Welcome. If you're new to the chat, you're new to our live stream, welcome aboard, okay? Please subscribe. It'll definitely help out the channel, and it'll be great to have you here. And I promise that I'll only wear the tinfoil hat once in a while, not all the time. Here we go. I want to talk about something that is not in today's files, but connects directly to the question of what they're still hiding. Since 2025, at least 10 scientists, researchers, and officials connected to advanced aerospace, nuclear programs, and UAP research have either died or disappeared. Among them, retired Air Force Major General William Neal Miscasland. He commanded the Air Force Research Laboratory, oversaw classified space weapons programs, was the head of research at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the facility long associated with recovered UAP materials. On February 27th of this year, he walked out of his Albuquerque, New Mexico home, left his phone, left his prescription glasses, left his wearable devices, and he never came back. Jason. A NASA aerospace engineer gone on a hike. Hold on, I'll rewind real quick. Jason, see you, man. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. I don't know if I gave you a shout out earlier or not. See you, Jason. Awesome to have all our members here. Great to have you guys. I've got members of my Ferocious Optimist coaching membership. I've got members of my inner circle here, my part of my coaching community, and my some of my clients as well. And I've got members of my YouTube channel membership. It's awesome to have you guys. Thank you so much for your support. Guys, the link is in the chat for my Ferocious Optimist coaching membership and community. Would love to have you become a member there and join. We have a monthly group coaching session that's actually going this Saturday. So is our monthly session. I've got an amazing community of really great people. We do challenges every week. If you're looking to make a breakthrough in life, in business, okay, to get ahead, you want to be around like-minded people, have an accountability circle for your goals and for what you're trying to work on. You're trying to make a breakthrough this year, okay, get unstuck, all those things. Join my coaching membership, okay? The link is in the chat. It's pinned to the chat. Check it out. And if you want to go deeper, make the transformation happen faster, join my inner circle, okay? The inner circle is absolute fire. We meet every week, every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. That was voted on by the members. And so it's a weekly group coaching mastermind, small group right now, and it's absolutely awesome. You'll love that. But the link is in the chat, pinned to the chat, so check that out. Let's keep going here. Again, the missing scientists, what we're talking about right now. Again, the architecture of secrecy, how they enforce the secrets. You heard the filmmaker saying that the legacy program is thousands of employees going to work every day. How to enforce secrecy? Well, watch. Here we go. The facility long associated with recovered UAP materials. On February 27th of this year, he walked out of his Albuquerque, New Mexico home, left his phone, left his prescription glasses, left his wearable devices. This is the Air Force General. He never came back. A NASA aerospace engineer gone on a hike. A Los Alamos researcher walked out his front door. A plasma physicist at MIT shot at his home. An astrophysicist at Caltech shot on his front porch. House Republicans have formally requested an FBI investigation. Missouri Congressman Eric Burleson said, quoting directly, "It's really strange that in a period of 4 or 5 months, 4 or 5 people walked out their front door, never returned, and we're all doing advanced aerospace research." This is nuts. I'm not saying these cases are connected, but I am saying these weren't gang members. These weren't criminal cartel associates. These were scientists, physicists, a United States Air Force general, people who spent their careers at the highest levels of classified research, and they're gone. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Trust your gut. That's not conspiracy thinking. This is common sense. If the government is willing to release UAP footage, but the people who know the most about what was being recovered are disappearing, what does that tell you about what's still classified? I know what it tells me. Now I want to talk about the file most people covering this release are completely ignoring. All right. So that's what I think. I mean, how are they enforcing this? I think it's fear. It's fear in a number of ways. Okay. Fear of your career, fear of legal repercussions, fear of losing clearance, therefore your livelihood. Okay. You know, they start getting entrenched, start building a life around this lifestyle by having a clearance, being credible. As they say, credibility assessment is a polygraph. Credibility assessment. You're not credible any longer. It means you can't work in the intelligence community and government, which is pretty lucrative career. Very stable, very lucrative government work. Your community, purpose, mission, identity. We talk about the identity in my Ferocious Optimist Framework coaching seminar that I just had last Saturday, and I teach this all the time to my groups too. My Ferocious Optimist coaching membership and my clients, my community, my inner circle. Identity. They take away their identity. You are out. Okay? So it's fear, number one. Well, for those that are so bold and don't care, they're like, yeah, well, this is important for the people to know. I'm going to blow the whistle. Well, guess what? If that didn't work, the fear of legal repercussions, losing your entity, losing your identity, you're out of the tribe, you're out of the group, you're no longer a part of us anymore. If that's not enough for you, guess what? They're going to start threatening your life. Okay? This is what Bob Lazar said. This is what Jeremy Corbell said. I guess Jeremy Corbell, the filmmaker associated with Age of Disclosure and Sleeping Dogs, he's the one you see in the background at Congress testimonies all the time. He brings the whistleblowers to Congress, okay, because they trust him. He approaches Congress and said, I've got this guy, and so they have a hearing, okay? So according to him, according to his documentary and his lawyer, there has been a verified case by the FBI that there is a hit out on his life. His life is in danger, that they picked up evidence that shows that he is on a hit list, basically, that he's being targeted for death. Okay. Crazy stuff. So that's another way, right? And what do we have here? Again, this isn't proof. I'm making allegations. I'm making assertions. This isn't proof, but it's evidence that suggests more credibility that fear of death, people disappearing, is another tactic that whoever's protecting the super secrets, right? The secret keepers of the secret keepers, they will hire a hit team, a contractor to take you out. Okay. Crazy stuff. All right. Let me see. Let me jump in the chat here. See what you guys got for me. And Cedric, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your support. Thank you for saying that, Cedric. Yeah, remember freedom for science creativity made the move from Germany to the USA. 100%. 100%, Cedric. It's a great point. Let me see here. Yeah, Cedric, thanks for your support, man. I appreciate the endorsement. Thank you. Yeah, definitely check it out. Check it out, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. We're watching Ben. It's a crazy cycle. I'm the secret keeper. I have the UAPs. Tinfoil hats fully on, Phoenix. See? What's he doing? Ben's watching Ben. That's a real narcissist, right? Ben's watching Ben. Let me show you my video. Yes. Many things can be said about that. But I think it's effective. I'm very proud of my work. It's good. Check out the video, damn it. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're not subscribed yet, please like, share, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Great to have you here. Quick round of applause for the best chat in YouTube. Guys, we got to do it. And actually, we got to fire up some music, too. Let me see if I fixed my sound. Let's see.
Welcome to the Ferocious Optimist Podcast.
We're the best chat in YouTube right here. You guys deserve it for the best. Round of applause for yourselves. Get up and dance a little bit.
Welcome to the Ferocious Optimist Podcast.
One thing I've learned is you gotta take some mental breaks every now and then, right? And when I take a mental break, I like to have the tinfoil hat. This tinfoil hat can be found anywhere, stores and Walmart. I'm just kidding. You know, this is going to be in the future an ad. I'll be like, are you guys tired? When I get tired, I like to use the tinfoil hat. And I put the tinfoil hat on my head. And next thing you know, I feel great. And I believe everything that's being told to me. So that'll be a product line I'm going to come out with. Oh, yeah, baby. All right. Ben is watching Ben. A lot of craziness right here. A lot of craziness. Woo, so it all worked. Awesome. Perfect. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Brian Plummer. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Thank you, brother. Big round of applause. Big round of applause for Brian Plummer and mega support. Awesome. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your support. Appreciate you. And we're going to keep this going, and I might even have some jokes. Ooh. All right, on to our next video. There we go. What is the next video going to be? Boom. It's going to be this one. This one. I think it's this one. Nope, not that one. We talked about this guy already. And here we go. Let's jump in. There's our buddy Chris Cuomo here. Maybe he's not your buddy. I like him, though. I like old Chris Cuomo. I think he always has interesting stuff to say. I know some people are like, Chris Cuomo, Ben, come on. But, I think he does a pretty good job. I think it's hilarious when he's on there with Bill O'Reilly. They attack each other. I think they're friends, though, but they really attack each other. It's pretty funny. He'll be like, Cuomo, you don't know anything. All right, here we go.
I think the president said we're going to get UFO released files very soon. Now the FBI director echoes.
So the idea that there would be life on other planets that may be visited here that would not at all shock or surprise me. Have you ever looked into it?
We're looking at it. Our job at the FBI is to work with the White House, the DOW, give them the information. We already delivered our first tranche of information to that committee. And you're going to start seeing those releases literally happening in the very near future. We just met on it.
How come I don't get an invitation to hang out with Sean Hannity? What, I can't sit there in an ugly sports jacket and bullshit him as well as this guy?
Ooh.
We still haven't gotten what was promised on the Epstein files. And who's going to believe this guy? Why would you believe Kash Patel?
100%.
The guy lied to you about Epstein for profit, gets in there, does nothing, backpedals.
100%.
And now we're supposed to believe him about UFOs? Or am I being too cynical? Let's have.
Not at all. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think we can believe Kash Patel? Can we believe Kash Patel? One, in the chat if we can believe Kash Patel. 0 in the chat if we can't believe Kash Patel. I know any of my Valhalla viewers out there, Nate's crew, I know for damn sure what your answer is going to be. But let me see. Let me see what we got. And meanwhile, let me see what the poll is saying, the latest poll. Let's see what the latest poll is saying. If they produce a craft and alien body, would that be enough for you, or do you need more? 21 votes, 32 minutes, 43% yes. Okay. 19% no. 38% say I need to verify with an expert. Okay, I think I'm with you guys. I think produce a craft and a body and have it verified with someone believable, right? That would probably be enough. But again, we could be getting faked. I see what you guys are saying. No, it's not enough. I understand what you're saying. And why? For example, why don't they believe or won't they believe? Because exactly why we don't believe in Kash Patel. After all his, frankly, his bullshit, right? Tons of bullshit. Okay, got it. Mark, I was looking for you. My retired law enforcement, 1 or 0, depends on the subject. Got you. How about for this one, Mark? Do you think with aliens, UAPs, what he's saying here, you can rely on him? I was going to say, because the Epstein files is more visceral. Epstein has to do with the president, right? He works for the president. The UAP files has no impact on Trump. Trump looks great. The more they release, the better they are. So maybe this is what Mark's saying, which he brings up a great point. See, this is why I'm lucky. I have the smartest chat on YouTube. It makes me look smart because I just answer your questions. You guys ask better questions, we get better answers, okay? Like Ben, I'm like, I'm up here. I give better answers because you guys ask better questions. So, Mark, that's a great point. Yep. Okay, Kash Patel is so short. I believe 0. Okay. Spider Cat from Nate Crew. Yeah. Yep. I bet we could, if I could like teleport Nate into here for 2 seconds on the screen, he'd probably be like, yeah, right. Don't believe a word this guy says. All right, let's see here. Joe Saunders says no, 0, not at all. Cash crash. Yep, Wanwick says 0, Phoenix 0. Cedric, good old Cash is back. Cash man, he is back. I'm telling you, I think Hegseth's still going to get fired. I think Hegseth is gone by the end of Hegseth is gone before August. I know I said it might be June, but I think Hegseth's going to be gone. They might keep him to the 4th of July because there are a lot of celebrations and he doesn't want to get distracted. After the 4th of July, and this is my point, and this is what I'm going to say. After the 4th of July, Hegseth is gone. That's it. All the pomp and circumstances done. 250th birthday party's done. Boom. Hegseth's gone. That's what I'm saying. I could be wrong. But, I mean, President Trump doesn't keep people for a long time. Okay. Appreciate it. Lots of good stuff. Let's listen a little bit more.
News Nation special correspondent, investigative journalist par excellence, Ross Coulthard. Ross, it is good to have you. Assuage my misgivings. Do you believe that this is the time we get a release maybe of the many videos that George and Jeremy Corbell have been telling us that we need to see?
G'day, Chris. I do think we're going to get something. I think there are going to be very limited releases of maybe more blurry videos, maybe some good videos. But I certainly don't think we're going to get what we're all hoping for, and which I think a lot of people, including the American public in the main, generally demand, which is candor. Openness about the full extent of the American government's knowledge about a covert retrieval program and reverse engineering program for non-human technology, aliens in any other word. I've been talking now for too long, many years now, to people inside the government, inside the administration, inside the National Security Council, inside the Pentagon, and also in the intelligence community, telling me that there is a reality that is being concealed from the American public and from the rest of the planet. And I really doubt very much that we're going to see any kind of meaningful disclosure that suggests that the US government is going to be admitting it's being party to a cover-up. I think what we will get is probably a very limited release of maybe 40 or so videos and photographs that show anomalous objects. But we'll still be teased with the idea there is a mystery there that's worth investigating.
Wow. That's coming from Ross Coulthard. He's like all on top of this all the time. This is 2 weeks ago. Okay. So in those 2 weeks, we received the first dump. But when this was filmed, when they shot this, they hadn't released the second data dump, the second files, the UAP files. The second tranche of UAP files was not released, okay, by this point. All right? And so he's right. They did give 40 more videos. Actually, 62 files in total. If you watch my video, you'll know that, okay? Watch my latest video, not my live, but the video. You'll see that, okay? 51 of them are videos. There's some pretty amazing stuff in there. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? So I understand he's been doing this is for decades now, but I want to show you guys something. Let me see here. Make sure I have the right one. This one to me, this one's always gotten me. I'm not going to lie to you. This is something, and I don't know where this one is now. Maybe one of you guys know where it is, but I haven't found this again. The one time that I found it. Well, I found now on YouTube, obviously, but I'm saying the actual footage. I didn't find it in the Pentagon files. I might need to look for it some more, but check this out. If you haven't seen this yet, this is a video of a Hellfire fired from an MQ-9 Reaper drone at a UFO, at a UAP, anomalous object, whatever the hell you want to say. It hits it and bounces off. I've seen Hellfires at work. They don't bounce off. There are things called thermobaric Hellfires, which will drop a building. They'll drop floors in buildings, sometimes drop a building if the building doesn't have good construction. Okay? But it will definitely clear out a floor in a building and probably drop it like tung, 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 boom, 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 blow them down. Okay? And they're armor-piercing Hellfires, all kinds of different Hellfires. This one, watch it. Watch what happens.
The newly released video captured by a U.S. Reaper drone shows a glowing orb off the coast of Yemen. Suddenly, on the left side of your screen, you see a Hellfire missile zip in, strike that unidentified object, then bounce right off it. When we slow the video down, you see the Hellfire missile continue to travel on its path, that trajectory becoming clearer from this zoomed out angle. Not shown is a second Reaper drone that launched the missile. Congressman Eric Burleson shared the video at a house.
So, 2 MQ-9 Reaper drones, okay? Firing a Hellfire missile. One's tracking the object, targeting, actually recording everything with its cameras. The other one is targeting, tracking, firing, okay? So, they hit it, as MQ-9s tend to do. They tend to get hits, okay? They hit it, and that's what happened. It bounced off. Let's watch it one more time.
Drone shows a glowing orb off the coast of Yemen. Suddenly, on the left side of your screen, you see a Hellfire missile zip in, strike that unidentified object, and bounce right off it. When we slow the video down, you see the Hellfire missile continue to travel on its path. That trajectory becoming clearer from this zoomed out angle.
Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen this before. Put a 0 if you haven't seen it before.
Launched the missile. Congressman Eric Burleson shared the video.
Give me a 1 in the chat, guys, if you've seen this video before. And give me a 0 if you haven't. I saw this a couple months ago. I think I might have played it in a live stream. But then, since then, I just remember kind of not seeing it again. Like people made no big deal of it. To me, this is a big deal, right? I know people can ask. Skeptics can say this, and rightfully so. How do we know it's a Hellfire? How do we know it's a UAP? How do we know what that is? Well, we have to take it at face value. Again, there's no metadata. There's no data on the video, at least that I saw. Maybe there was. Let me take it again. There is some. Okay. It's lasing. There's some data on it. Okay, if we look at it. We see the reticle. We see the north-seeking arrow. We see the frame. We see the tracking. We see the LRD laser designator, okay? The LRD laser designator symbol. Can this be mimicked? Yeah. Can it be faked? Yeah. But I don't think so.
We slow the video down. You see the Hellfire missile continue to travel on its path. That trajectory becoming clearer from this zoomed out angle. Not shown is a second Reaper drone that launched the missile. Congressman Eric Burleson shared the video at a House Oversight Committee on what the military calls unidentified aerial phenomena, better known as UFOs.
That's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
We've never seen a Hellfire missile hit a target and bounce off.
Lou Elizondo is a former senior intelligence officer with the Pentagon.
The Hellfire makes a hit, a kinetic strike on something solid. There's usually not much left of whatever it is it's hitting. It's very, very destructive. What seems
he's right about that. Okay, I've always been impressed by this one, by the Hellfire strike. I just honestly, that was very convincing for me. But again, we have to keep our head in a swivel and ask the right questions. Like, is this actually what they say it is? Okay, because that's obviously a concern. So let's talk about the timeline really quickly of disclosure of what we've learned, the whistleblowers. 2017, the New York Times story breaks. Okay, the program existed for the crash recovery, the legacy program. Okay, this is what's actually been disclosed. Money was spent. The Pentagon later released declassified documents showing a proposed DHS program intended to take possession of a reverse-engineered, retrieved UAPs, advocated for some sense of urgency by former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Okay? And I'm going to rewind this one more time as I talk. Okay? And so, in 2023, David Grush congressional testimony. A former intelligence officer under oath with whistleblower protection testified that individuals told him the U.S. government had retrieved craft and biological material of non-human origin. All right. So that's 2023. So 2017, the New York Times story breaks, right? Just so you know, Jeremy Corbell, one of the key whistleblower confidants, a journalist, investigative journalist, okay, actually, he started interviewing people in 2012. So he's just gaining steam at 2017. He's gaining all this material. He's helping to break the story behind the scenes. So is George Knapp. 2023, Major David Grush, congressional testimony. We saw that, former intelligence officer with whistleblower protection. Okay. We saw all that as well. He comes out in his story. All right. I'll get back to George Knapp here in a second. But and then in January 2026, recently, a couple months ago, House whistleblower hearing, multiple witnesses, members of the UAP caucus, the UAP, group, discussed the DOD and intelligence community's lack of transparency. I talked about this about 9/11, remember? Lack of interagency sharing of information. Lack of DOD and intelligence communities' lack of transparency included undisclosed spending on UAP-related programs and national security implications of UAP encounters at U.S. military installations. 2026, May, just this month, Congressman Tim Burchett, we're going to see him in a second, on the record argues that compartmentalization isn't just about national security. It's a mechanism to hide massive misappropriations of taxpayer funds. Okay, this is crucial. This part is crucial. All right? And we're going to hear from Tim Burchett in a second here. But it's massive misappropriations of taxpayer funds and revolutionary technology with advanced propulsion systems, disclosure potentially destabilizing industries like petroleum. Think about this, okay? If they have this energy source out there and it'll put the whole gas and oil industry out of business, massive economic shocks, massive societal upheaval, okay? Rich countries might not be so rich. Poor countries might get richer. The whole national security economic order could be upended. Possibly, right? So there are all these things to consider. And Tim Burchett talks about this, but it's a massive mechanism. The compartmentalization is a mechanism, as Eisenhower warned about the defense industrial complex. And this time, it's about a mechanism to hide massive misappropriation for the unacknowledged special access programs. Okay, can you guys see how I'm kind of weaving this all together here? Give me a 1 in the chat if you're tracking. Give me a 1 in the chat if you're tracking how all these things connect together. I just want to make sure I don't have to go back and re-talk about it again. But give me one in the chat if you're tracking, if you're with me. And what I'm saying is you're tracking along. Awesome. Thanks, Juan Wick. I appreciate it, man. What's up with Diamond Dog? Good to have you here. Joe Saunders. Awesome. Okay, Cedric, I'll wait for you to come back. Listen. Keep listening. Pumpkin's got it. Mark's got it. Awesome, Juan. Appreciate you, man. All right. So this is no longer a fringe theory, right? It's no longer fringe. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on the record said the Pentagon is working on identifying and releasing government files and will be in full compliance with the president's directive. Okay? So this is no longer on the fringe, right? This is the big thing about the timeline. This is congressional record. The question isn't whether programs existed. The question is what kind of organizational culture produces this and what it costs. Again, put your leadership hat on for your business, for your life, for your organization, for your team. Okay, we talked about the collapse of trust. You know, how they lied to everyone and they're lying to themselves. When people no longer believe in your systems, your structures anymore, in your company, in your team, okay, they think you lie all the time. They don't trust you. Nothing works right. Everything slows down. Everyone's suspicious. You can't trust anything, okay? This is a big problem. So as a leader and like as an executive coach, when I coach people, I talk about the type of organizational culture they want to build. This is an organizational culture in your team, in your office, in your company, in your family, you know, in your relationships, everything. Think about on the flip side of that for the government, what kind of organizational culture produces this? I talked about fear at the CIA, fear in the intelligence community, the repercussions you can face, losing your identity, losing your clearance, losing your livelihood, legal actions against you, losing your freedom, but then possibly all the way to losing your life, right? And what does it cost to build an organizational culture like this? With fear, compartmentalization, okay? People can take advantage of this. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is bad. I'm not into that, okay? I think most of these people want to serve well and do a great job for our country, okay? I'll say most. But there are some, like Lex Luthor type of criminal mind genius who will use the compartmentalization to their advantage, who lie, cheat, and steal, and are very smart and very slick and know how to use the legal system to their advantage. And they've got the backing of political support, and they don't get caught, okay? Or they've been there so long that they're the only ones that know all the keyholes and secret doors and secret relationships, okay? All those things could be true. So let's watch. I've got another little video here that I think will be important to take a look at. Here's Tim Burchett. We're going to hear from Representative Tim Burchett, like I said, and what he says. Here we go.
Based on what you know, amongst us now,
we've mapped less than 20% of the ocean floor. You know, we've mapped more of the moon, for goodness sakes, than we have the ocean floor. To me, that just seems more logical that there's something there. Roswell was a cover-up because military intelligence comes out saucer captured in New Mexico desert. Now, the next day they come out and say, oh no, we made a mistake. It was a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
Now, how do you go from a saucer to a hot air balloon? It just, to me, that's just beyond belief.
And is there something that if the public knew, it would cause the public to completely crumble?
I don't smoke weed, but if I did, that'd be the kind of thing I'd sit there and think about all the time. It freak me out, you know?
I want to tell you guys about Verdict Bourbon. If you're looking for a good bourbon, the best bourbon on the market, I'm telling you, go look at the...
Well, this is like the joke I was saying. This is the best tinfoil hat on the market. Get your tinfoil hat and you'll be good, right? Hey, I don't blame him. Good for this guy with a little Verdict Bourbon. Try to get... It's a long ad, though. Damn, they're pouring it. There we go.
Calm, get you some bourbon today, baby. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I told you guys.
Get you some bourbon today, baby. That's awesome.
Been on this rampage, going down the rabbit hole of looking up, is ET real or not? And I had to interview a congressman who's everywhere. He's talking about it. I think he's one of the few that are bold enough to put his reputation out on the line to tell the public about a lot of stuff here soon. I'm hopeful of, and I'm alive to be able to interview the man that can give us as much information as possible. So, Congressman, the government release of the information. A lot of people have seen you talk about this before, but for my audience, why is the government releasing the files?
Here's a better part. Here's a better part.
And the deep state does not want us to have this, and part of it's
okay. So he's going to talk about right now. Okay, this is the point I wanted you guys to see. He's going to talk about right now the 0-point energy and the energy differences, I believe. Okay, let me make sure I have the right part. It looks like it. All right, and here we go.
Just a cover up upon it, cover ups, and the deep state does not want us to have this, and part of it's arrogance, I think, and part of it's. Could you imagine if they found an energy source, because these things are hovering for hours on end? We have reports, and
you see, and there he is talking about the energy source, right? The energy source is part of the reason that many of them say there is a cover up. Okay, so before it was the defense military industrial complex. Okay, but now it's like an energy industrial complex. This could upend the entire economic order of the world. Just think if tomorrow we discovered an energy source that once harnessed, let's say it took 5 years to harness it, or 10 years to really make it, usable all over the place. The gas and oil industry would I wouldn't say be out, but it would definitely be declining. It would take a dent out of the gas and oil industry. Now, it wouldn't decline that quickly. I'm not so foolish to think that. But you would look probably within 30 years it being phased out and probably being a less used technology. The combustion engine would probably be on the way out, unless this is so exotic and so expensive. But imagine if it wasn't. Imagine if it was not that hard.
And then they can just shoot off into space, just almost, it's instantaneous. And the amount of power to do that is just beyond belief. And we don't have any capabilities of that. But to do that, the energy source would be incredible. And when they get these things on sonar, they show no heat signature. So they have 0-point energy of some kind. Could you imagine what that would do to the oil companies and the war pimps at the Pentagon? We wouldn't be going on into these wars for oil. We wouldn't be worried about it. Poor people could cool.
This is a great point. Going into wars for oil, be so concerned for energy, we wouldn't have this anymore. And so then who would that impact? According to Eisenhower, we talked about this earlier, the defense industrial complex, these big defense corporations, right? How can you justify billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in contracts to keep these things afloat, right? If the war is for oil, we're like, yeah, we're good. We don't need to really do that much, okay? And then is there any other threat that's going to strike us? Maybe then the aliens become the threat. The aliens are here. We need to build up and get ready for them. We need to spend $1 trillion to get ready for the aliens to invade. Well, I got news for you. If they can get here and they want to whack us, they're going to whack us, okay? They're going to burn us straight to the ground with their freaking laser weapons and all this crap. With their sharks with lasers on their heads. They're going to burn us right down to the ground, damn it. All right. Let's listen some more.
Into these wars for oil, we wouldn't be worried about it. Poor people could cool their homes in the summer and heat them in the winter for virtually no cost and no threat to our environment. Can you imagine the turmoil that could cause? So I think there's a lot to do with it. And also I think there's a complete arrogance. You didn't ask me about this, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
No, I love to hear it.
If you're interested. There's a real.
Yeah, I think there's that. Remember the arrogance I was telling you about? Like, I'm right into this. I have this knowledge. I know these things. You can't know it. You haven't been here long enough. You haven't had the right credibility assessment. You're not read in. I can't talk to you. You're not in my secret little group, right? It's so cliquey, and so it's necessary in some ways, but there is a real arrogance, okay? From what I've seen in my experience, if you're not like I said, you're not upland gorilla, secret squirrel cobra, read in, then you're not in my group. We can't even talk to you. We can't even sit with you at lunch. Like, we're not even gonna be around you. You're like, really? Okay. I thought you're like a dork. You guys are a bunch of dorks. But anyway, neither here nor there. But they are upland gorilla, read in. There is no program like that. My friend and I made up that name when I was going through some stuff with, interagency. So anyway, I was going through some training. We were laughing about it.
Arrogance in government. I'm sitting there talking to this little white guy in a skiff, this little skinny kid, and
This is so funny. He's about to say the same thing I just said. This little skinny kid, he's acting arrogant to me. Listen to this. I can't believe he's actually echoing exactly what I was going to say.
talking to this little white guy in a skiff, this little skinny kid, and he's kind of a smart aleck under the Biden administration, and he's got the man bun going, and he didn't care for me, and the feeling was mutual, brother. I can tell you that. And he told me that the president was on a need to know basis. And what kind of arrogance is that?
Yeah,
that is unbelievable.
See, man, that doesn't fly with me. He's only doing what he's taught and what he's told. Okay, honestly, this is probably some, I wouldn't say low level, but probably some mid-level dude if he's meeting with a congressman, and he's got to follow the rules or he's done. But the arrogance is cultural. It's a, culture. So if you're in business, you're a leader on a team, you're a manager, you're a leader on a small team, big team, whatever. You're in a sports team. Even you can see arrogance in groups of friends, things like that. But cultural arrogance can spread by what's allowed, what's not, by how the strongest influencers, the strongest leaders behave. That's what I've seen, because I've had to break some cultures down, had to rebuild some cultures in some teams and organizations I've led. Okay. And I've had to be brought in as a change agent, and I've had to, make serious changes. Now, a lot of the times there are reasons that is there. The behavior is like that. Someone modeled that behavior and said it was okay. Some leader who was supposed to be the leader didn't nip it in the bud. Like they say, if you're going to kill the monster, kill it when it's a baby. Okay, this goes for your health, right? This goes for financial problems. This goes for addiction. This goes for anything you want to say. Arrogance in cultures, teams having a problem. You have some up-and-coming, rising, charismatic malcontent. Someone who's a great performer, but they're bad for the team. They're toxic. You got to nip it in the bud. You got to have hard conversations, okay? So I've seen this too, this arrogance where, the president's on a need-to-know basis. I know it, but he doesn't. Makes me even better than the president. I'm even cooler than the president. He's out the bars, trying to pick up girls. Yeah, I know stuff the president can't even know. I mean, honestly, it's like childish, right? It's nuts. This is what he's saying. So let's listen a little bit more.
Chuck Schumer, that's who had the bill. I'm sorry, it was Schumer. That's who I was trying to think of. I don't know. I couldn't think of.
Yeah, Congressman. I was wondering, do you think it's more of they don't want us to know the information because of the technology and innovation that could make a lot of what they're doing obsolete? Or do you think that it's also some very scary, problematic things that the public may not be ready to comprehend, or both? I mean, from the things that you've seen.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm not as, there's the interdimensional. Is it demonic? Are we doing business with the devil, so to speak? And I'm a Christian. I assume you are by your artwork there on your left arm.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just not worried about the demonic element. There's enough of that here. I mean, they control Hollywood.
That's a great point. I'm not worried about the demonic element. There's enough of that here. That's hilarious.
Hollywood and probably most of Washington, D.C., they don't need a spaceship to do it,
right.
To come in.
They're in most of Washington, D.C. They don't need a spaceship to come and do it. That's freaking funny, honestly.
And so I maybe some of it is. Some of these things we see are
one way Hollywood.
They look angelic.
Right. Same thing.
What you would think would be, but they could be demons. I don't know. But I'm really just not worried about that. But I am worried about a government that thinks that they know so much that we don't need to know it. But going back to
yeah, I'm with him. Guys, this is a great interview. We'll watch a little bit more of it, but put your question in the chat, guys. Let me ask you guys, actually, it might be time for a new poll here, but I'll ask you guys in the chat real quick. What do you think is more likely or more devastating? If they discover a new energy source, put in E, if that's more powerful, or do you think the actual military weapons, discoveries would be more powerful? Put in E if you think it's the energy. The energy would be more powerful if they change the energy. Put a M or a W, one or the other, if you think it's more the military weapons type aspect of discovery of craft and the secrets. You know, the energy thing seems pretty damn powerful, but the military and weapons is too. So I want to see what you guys think about it. Whether you think they would be covering it up more for the military weapons aspect, or you think they're covering it up for the powerful, you know, world-changing energy aspect of it. So I'm going to see what you guys think. An E or an M. And if you put a W for weapons, that's fine too. E or an M. Energy or military aspect for discovering the craft. Tell me what you guys think. M and W, okay. Got it. Pumpkin, Juan Wick, both, okay. E and M, yep. Okay, Cedric says E, okay. All right. Let's see if anyone else got a vote in there. Put an E or an M for the energy or for the military aspect. And put a 1 in the chat. Give me a 1 in the chat, guys, if you want to watch a little bit more of this interview. You want to see a little bit more of this? Give me a 1 in the chat. Okay, got it. Joe Saunders, awesome. Okay, M, John. Okay, interstellar travel capability. Yeah, Cedric, no kidding, right? M, okay. Brian, Stars, M, the Diamond Dog, M. Yeah, Nash, okay, yep. Okay, Pumpkin, I'll play a little bit more. Pumpkin McSpicy, quick on the draw. The Diamond Dog, quick on the draw. Great, coming right out of the holster. Juan Wick, probably the fastest one in the country. One of the fastest. All right, Blind Plumber, Cedric, Brian. Okay, I'm going to play a little more. Here we go. Awesome, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. And let me jump right in here. And I'll play a little bit more of this right now. Okay, Joe, got you. All right, Cedric, awesome. I'm going to do it. I got your vote. Here we go. Play a little bit more.
Say they do have a flying saucer of some sort, and it wouldn't be within the government, because everybody says, well, go out to Area 51, Birch. Well, you know, Area 51 would be a great place to get a T-shirt, maybe get your picture, one of those signs that says, you know, if you cross over this line, you could be met with lethal force, and there's all this stuff. But that's where we do most of our testing of some of our high very secret aircraft, high tech stuff. But I don't think they have it there. I think what they've done is they've handed it off to these 5 or 6 humongous private enterprise businesses, missile defense contractors, things like that, jet propulsion corporations. And
whoa, 1 Wick 0.83 at 7 yards today out of a level 2 holster. Damn, that is freaking fast, man. Nice. 1 Wick can kill you in less than a second, just under a second.
They've handed it off to them so that we can't FOIA them. Now, FOIA is Freedom of Information Act. So me as a congressman or you as a citizen say, I want to.
Okay, so what he's saying is that they hand off the secrets to the government contractors so we can't FOIA them. Freedom of Information Act, meaning that you hand over the information. The government, a congressman, a state official, government official can't say, give me that Freedom of Information Act. Not to a private company, you can't. That's why they store these secret things in secret facilities of companies like Skunk Works for Boeing, for example, okay?
Get this, or remember the press says, I want to get this, and they contact one of these agencies and says, I want this information, and they have to give it to you within reason. It's a national security issue or something, but that's what they always hide behind. Everything's always national security. And
well, this was a great interview. Great interview. Gosh, I got to see what this podcaster name is. He's got 3.7 million subscribers. This dude's got a mega channel. I don't know who he is. The Officer Tatum. Wow. Very good. Very good. Never seen him before, but I'm going to subscribe because I want to hear. And that's your reminder right now that if you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe. Like I said, I'm always surprised when I see, I think one of my last videos I've got 51,000 views. Okay, it's my biggest video, my most views of any video I've done yet. 51,000 videos on my 51,000 views on my video that I published like 10 days ago. And you know, I don't have 50,000 subscribers. I've got 5,700, right? 5,700. So imagine if 10% of the people that watched it subscribed, I'd probably be at 10,000 already. Okay. So I'm always surprised that not many people, not as many people subscribe that watch. But so I'd appreciate if you guys subscribe. Please like it as well too. It helps the channel, helps me to grow. And then I can, reach out and get people that are not inside my immediate, contact ring, my network, to come on the show as I start to grow and do new things as well too. So I appreciate you guys. Again, big round of applause for the best chat in YouTube. We're going to go ahead and hit that. Big round of applause. Best chat on YouTube. Cheer it up for yourselves, guys. You guys are the best. Absolutely awesome. So great to be here with all of you today. Oh, man, Phoenix, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Phoenix. Thank you so much. We're going to give her a big round of applause here. Let me just give you, it's always easier to do it on my phone. Thank you so much, Phoenix. Big round of applause for Phoenix, everybody. Thank you, Phoenix. Appreciate it. Appreciate your support. And I'll get to your question here. Let's get in here. Phoenix. Thank you so much, Phoenix. You are building an amazing community. We are feeling like family here. I hope you can read the chat after a live. It was so engaging, informative, and friendly. Thank you for your content. It really means a lot. Thank you so much. You guys are the best, and I really appreciate the support. Phoenix Flying, thank you so much for your support. And all of you, you guys are the best. Best chat on YouTube. I mean it. We're going to keep this thing going. And as this grows, it's going to be a really cool community. Everyone's going to love being in here. And, as it grows bigger and bigger, I'll probably assign some moderators and things like that. So we will keep the cool vibe going for as long as possible. No doubt about it. All right, Cedric, I see you got a question. Again, Phoenix, thank you so much. All right, let me get on here. I can see it better on here. I am farsighted like crazy right now. It's nuts. I can see really well driving, everything far away, but up close it's harder. All right, question, Ben. Before nationalism used to be feudal lords, what will come after nationalism, you think? Whew, that's a big question. This is a big question. You are testing my political science and chops. Well, I'll say this. So I think we saw, I think you're always going to have some degree of nationalism. I think you just are, okay? There's nothing wrong with having nationalism, being proud of your country, support of your country. But what happens, though, is when you have too much nationalism, you get protectionist policies, okay? And that can hurt, economics. It can cause problems when you start, putting tariffs out there, all those things like that. Now, again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with having nationalism, being proud of your country. I think if nationalism gets crazy and bad, it goes into something called fascism, okay? Fascism is another ballgame. This is like a militarized, weaponized nationalism, okay? So when you have a weaponized, militarized nationalism, it turns into fascism, okay? And the fascism means that like the state is always right, all power to the state, everything's about the state. The individual is small compared to the state, okay? And this leads to a lot of problems in corruption, tyranny, abuses of power, compartmentalization like we're seeing right now on steroids, like much more. Like people are just in the dark, okay? We saw this with Hitler. We saw it with Mussolini. We saw it with Imperial Japan. Fascism was a big thing in World War II. They thought it was a good way to be, to keep a country strong and keep it protected. But fascism was largely debunked. You see different strands of it coming up, now and then, even here in the Western Hemisphere, in the United States, you'll see light versions of it, right? You'll see some things like that being discussed, but not like what was in Mussolini, not like with Hitler, not like in Imperial Japan. Fascism was something they thought was going to be successful. You'll see populism taking a rise, the nationalism, all those things. So I think there's always going to be some degree of it. But as a proven way to have a viable survival strategy for a country, Cedric, I think that just having purely nationalistic policies the whole time, it goes against the development of global international trade, economics, things like that, okay? Too much protectionism and weaponized nationalism can hurt your chances to take advantage of trade. For example, President Trump was just in China making trade deals. Despite everything else going on, we're still making deals. We brought business leaders there to do deals because, you can be nationalistic, but say, well, we're not so nationalistic that we're going to turn down trade deals. We're not going to, turn down things that are actually good for our interests, okay? Like, our economic interests, our security interests, all those things like that. So what do I think? Let's say, like, the next form of political structure. We're going to see how everything plays out. We're going to have to see how things play out. But I think it ebbs and flows. But I think technology has a lot to do with it. As the world gets smaller and interconnected, as technology, information technology, AI, all these things like that, travel. Like, we'll talk about this right now. We're talking about AI so much. Jet travel. Take away the jet planes. Imagine how the world is if all of a sudden we're like, okay, you can have AI or you can have jet travel. You're going to take jet travel, right? I mean, AI is very important, but you take away international, travel almost at the speed of sound, then that's going to change the world, okay? And imagine when we have regular hypersonic travel. This is something that's being worked on right now. They don't talk about it that much, but commercial hypersonic jet travel. Imagine you can fly from LA to Paris, okay, in 4 hours. That's a game changer, right? Imagine you can fly from LA to New York City in an hour and a half. This is a game changer. We're shrinking the world, okay? So I think as the world comes closer and closer together, we're going to have to learn how to, I'll say cooperate for sure, still going to compete, but you're going to have to learn how to make, trying to avoid war as much as possible, because one thing history has shown is that wars are devastating. It brings down empires. If you win sometimes, it takes so long to recover, you may not be in a position you were before. And it destroys national treasuries, national well-being. You don't recover a significant portion of a population. Crazy stuff, right? So depending on how devastating the war is. But that's my best attempt at answering that right now for what I think will come next. But I think if you're hinting at nationalism as being fascism, I think we're not going to see fascism come up again, because once people know, frankly, what knowledge is like and what freedom is like and not being controlled, I think that they won't go back to the way things were with a fascist state or a totalitarian state unless they can't help it, unless they're controlled, coerced, and forced, okay? And so, like I'll say, the people in China, the Chinese government, number one concern is about the people overthrowing the government. They call this the mandate of China. They call it the mandate from heaven. Sorry, the mandate from heaven. The mandate of heaven basically says that, the mandate of heaven basically says that once your time is up as a leader, your time's over, okay? And the mandate of heaven is over, you're pretty much over as a leader, okay? And you lose the mandate of heaven, you're no longer in charge. And what happens then is natural disaster, the people uprise, all this stuff like that. That's from ancient China. The emperors would think of that, all that stuff like that. But it still goes back in their history. The number one thing they're concerned with is losing the trust and confidence, losing control. Actually, not even trust and confidence, losing control of the people, okay? And so, but once the people get a taste of that freedom and that knowledge and that agency, the ability to make choice, they're never going to go back to what they had in the days of the emperor, total control. You see, China definitely controls their country, but they even have information technology. The government controls it all, but they still have to be very careful about swinging too far away from keeping their people in the Stone Age like the North Koreans do. Okay, does that answer your question? Maybe there's some follow-on questions with that one too. Let me see. Hey, Pumpkin, great to have you. Scott Wheel, what's going on, man? Good to have you. Yeah, LU needs to be open sourced. I know what you mean. Yeah, Scott, this is what we're talking about. Hey, I am Olivia. Good to have you. All right, let's see here. All right, does that answer your question, though, Cedric? No, sir, as like this, in the sense we will move towards space as a natural progression, and our bounds will be Earth, not continents. Yeah. Okay, I got you. I got you. I see what you're saying. Cedric. Okay, so I went down a whole huge political discourse. I'm sorry, I didn't see your comment. Yeah, man, I think once we do have as Elon Musk says, we're going to trend towards interstellar travel at some point, you know, and we need to have enough power to do interstellar travel. I think we're a long way from that, but maybe interplanetary travel. Interstellar is a whole nother ball game. I think I'm getting out over my skis here a little bit for my science people, but interplanetary travel or colonizing the moon, colonizing Mars, stuff like that. We're still way, way far away from that. But this, you know, I think when we're at that point, then you're right. I mean, it'll become like, I think, you know, we'd be much more not as nationalistic. But I do want to say, as President Reagan said, there's a quote from President Reagan saying that maybe if there was some, you know, enemy that came from outer space, maybe we would finally all unite on this earth and have peace because we would work together and cooperate like never before. Now, did he know something when he said that? President Reagan said something like this in a big speech. This was like 1982. Did he know something? Obviously, he did. He knew something. He had to be read into it. So he might have been hinting all the way back then that, hey, we're not alone. And hey, we better figure out how to work together before the big Will Smith aliens come down from War of the Worlds. Again, like I was talking about, this is pre-slap Will Smith, right? When he was in Men in Black and all that stuff. So better figure it all out before they come. And President Reagan said it. And to your point, Cedric, I think that's what he's talking about. All right, I got one more thing. I got a couple more, I think. Let me see. We're turning this into a Benathon here, aren't we? Okay, guys, I think that was my big one. That was my big one right there. But I got a couple more things to talk to you guys about. Okay, so talking about the organizational structure, the architecture of secrecy. That's what we talked about. How did we get to this point? Okay, the organizational pathology, right? The psychology, the culture. How did a team get this way? How did the CIA get this way? How did the quote unquote deep state that Congressman Burchett just said get this way, right? So what I'm describing here isn't just government corruption, the compartmentalization and misappropriation. It's what happens when an organization optimizes for secrecy over mission for decades, okay? It becomes the culture. The people inside the organization, they just stop questioning it. And then the new people get socialized into it. Like the guy with the man bun that he was talking about, Representative Burchett was saying, some little geeky guy, skinny guy with a man bun is telling me I don't have need to know, and he was the president, okay? You get distrust. He gets socialized into it. And eventually nobody remembers what right looks like anymore, okay? They don't remember who built the wall and why the wall was built, okay? They just know no one gets through that wall if they don't have a need to know, okay? So I've seen this at the unit level when information gets hoarded, when leaders protect knowledge as power instead of sharing it as a force multiplier, okay? When people's lives could be impacted or the way they do business can be impacted by, you know, withholding information, you build distrust, okay? You get a team that can't perform. You get a team that doesn't trust anymore, doesn't trust each other, doesn't trust you. Things slow down. Your organizational effectiveness drops. You get people operating on assumptions instead of facts. Now scale that to 75 years and a $700 billion defense budget, you get real problems, okay? You see where I'm going with this, guys? Put a 1 in the chat if you're tracking with me, if you're following with me. Give me a 1 in the chat. I just want to make sure that I'm, that we're all tracking along here, all right? So we need to know that compartmentalization as a leadership philosophy, you know, who decided civilians couldn't handle this information? This is compartmentalization as a leadership philosophy. That's what it is. No, we just compartmentalize it. Who decided? You got the president saying that I want to know. The president saying release this. Well, guess what? Okay. Yeah, he has his reasons. Are they politically expedient? I'm sure. Is he looking for political gain? I'm sure. But at the same time, he's the one voted into office. Okay. This isn't a national security decision. This is paternalism. All right. This is a group of people that feel they're above the people, above the law, okay? And they decide what's best for you. Like pat you on the head like a little boy, a little girl. We decide what's best for you, what you need to know. You don't need to know this. Go away. What? Who decided that? Okay? The Senate Intelligence Committee received classified briefings suggesting legacy programs may exist outside of normal congressional oversight, okay? Which would be illegal, okay? Especially if they're getting government funding. Under the National Security Act, this is illegal. That's not a secret kept for your protection. Remember that, okay? That's an institution that has exceeded its authority. This is illegal. That's the point of this whole thing, okay? So the identity cost to the people inside these programs, the operators, the scientists, the researchers, the contractors who signed up into these NDAs, who signed NDAs, it's more than even an NDA, okay? The special access programs, like, it's not like, oh, we'll sue you if that happens. No, the big problems, okay? Like, go to jail, lose your freedom, that type of stuff. I've even heard it said, I've never seen it in a special access program, but these unacknowledged programs, again, I'll put the tinfoil hat on, believe for a minute. They've said even penalty could be death, okay? So I don't know. But I know if treason, the penalty for treason carries the penalty of death in wartime. So they could issue and put in language like this into these agreements. This is punishable by up to death if it's considered treasonous. Okay? So I don't think these people are making that up. What does that do to a person, right? So I want you guys, drop inside the chat right now. Tell me, give me a 1 in the chat if you've ever been in an organization where you knew something was being hidden, okay? Where the culture was being built around not asking certain questions. Give me a 1 in the chat if you've ever been inside an organization where you knew something was being hidden and the culture was being built around not asking certain questions. I want to see what you guys think about that, what you guys have on that, okay? Because I know we've all been in something like that, okay? And here's what I want you to sit with. Every one of us has been living our entire lives inside an information environment that was partially manufactured, according to what Representative Burchett said, Burleson, all these different congressional representatives are saying. Not by accident, by design. People who decided without asking you, the people, okay? They decided that you couldn't handle certain truths, that I couldn't handle certain truths. That's our environment. That's your environment. You didn't choose it. None of us did, okay? Now here's a warrior question for you. You see, I got my warrior shirt on today, okay? Awaken the warrior within. Awaken the warrior. What do you do with that when you're being told you don't need to know certain things? And guess what? Not just you, but the people you elected don't even get to know that. This is freaking screwy, okay? As an American Marine, all right, and just a red-blooded American, to me, this is some bullshit, okay? You're going to tell the president doesn't need to know. You're going to tell the Congressional Senate Intelligence Committee doesn't need to know. Come on. This is bullshit, okay? So you have 2 options. You can either let this whole thing make you cynical, right? Distrust everything. That's one option, all right? Believe nothing, disengage, just everything. I see it in people in my comments in my videos. They're like, this is all fake. It's all fake. Why should we believe them now? They've been lying to us for 80 years. I know, but not everything is fake, okay? The KGB would love you to act like that. The FSB for Russia would love you to act that way. President Xi's intelligence apparatus and counterintelligence programs against the United States would love you to say that. And you can't trust anything. We can't know anything. Deep state everywhere. It's not everywhere, okay? This is the response that's been engineered by these people hiding the secrets, hiding the UAP programs. But also, I'm telling you, our adversaries would love this to take place just like it is, okay? If you guys remember from a couple months ago, put it in the chat if you remember this, but a few months ago I put in that interview with a Soviet dissident, KGB member from the 80s, and he said they had a program. The plan is for 20 years to destabilize the United States by planting so much disinformation that no one believes anything is being told them anymore in the United States. Total distrust of government institutions, total distrust of the leadership, all that stuff like that, okay? Confusion and cynicism are the point of these whole things, okay? A confused population doesn't organize, okay? So not just from like I was saying, the Chinese and the Soviets, but within these groups, these unacknowledged special access programs, the secret keepers of the secret keepers, the vanguard of the vanguard, the watchers who are watching the watchers, right? Inside these special programs, the ones who are trying to release nothing, hide everything behind government contractors. A confused population doesn't organize. Remember, Representative Burchett just said the Roswell crash was manufactured. They first came out right away and said, we recovered a disc. And then he said the next day, they said, no, correction, we recovered a balloon. How does it go from being a flying disc to a balloon, right? Okay. So a confused population, that's confusing. What they said in Roswell was a disc, no a balloon, okay? A confused population doesn't organize. It doesn't demand accountability. It doesn't lead, okay? This is super important, all right? And Joe, I see it there. Thank you so much, Joe. No, I'm glad you did, man. Okay, I am breaking my promise. Have been places. Ask me no questions, and I will tell you no lies. Just saying, y'all. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we're going to give a big round of applause here. Big round of applause to Joe Saunders. Thank you, my friend. You've been to some places, seen some things, just ask him. Right? 100%, man. I'm going to read that one more time here. Okay, I'm breaking my promise. I have been places. Quote, ask me no questions, and I will tell you no lies. Just saying, y'all. I appreciate you, Joe. Thank you so much, my friend. The support means a lot. And I know you have, brother. That's right. Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. It's so funny. I actually heard someone say, I heard from someone else that someone once said that to them in an interview, in a job interview. They said, are you telling the truth? They said, well, ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. That's crazy. Guess what? They didn't get the job. That's nuttiness, right? You basically ask you, are you a liar? Well, don't ask me any questions and I won't lie. Okay, that's right, Brian Plummer, warrior culture, baby. All right. So, like I said, a confused population doesn't organize. It doesn't demand accountability. It doesn't lead. Or you can use this whole thing as a diagnostic. If they could manage reality at that scale, okay, what smaller versions of this are operating in your life right now, okay? For yourself, turn the lens around and say, okay, like I've always said, we use the current events, the current context, current breaking news as a lens to see what's going on and then use it as an example. What lessons can we learn for our own lives, okay? So what smaller versions of this are operating in your own life right now? What have you accepted as true because someone in authority told you it was? Critical thinking is very important, okay? What questions have you stopped asking because the culture around you said don't ask? And I'm not saying this as the conspiracy nut. I'm not saying it that way. What I am saying is your team performance depends upon you asking questions. Your financial performance personally depends upon you asking the right questions of a financial advisor or of yourself. Why am I spending on this? Why did I make that decision? Where did this come from? Have I scrutinized my credit cards lately? Right? Okay. Why are you eating certain foods? How come I'm on the scale today and I weigh more? If you don't weigh yourself every day, how do you know how much you weigh? As an example. Why are you eating certain things? People are telling you they're good. Do you really know? Okay? You got to ask the right questions to get better answers. Or have you stopped asking the questions because people told you, don't ask that question. Don't ask this. Don't look at that. Or you're getting numbed out and you're getting so kind of just tired that you don't investigate and critically think anymore. Okay? This is the identity work. All right? This is the warrior's path. The ferocious optimist doesn't just wait for permission to think clearly. Okay, the warrior, like my shirt says, by the way, the shirt's inside my shop on YouTube. You can get it there. But the warrior doesn't wait for permission to think clearly, okay? The warrior doesn't need the government to tell him what's real before you build it into your life. The warrior operates on the best available information, stays intellectually humble, okay, thinks critically, and keeps moving forward. There are a lot of people, if you don't know, a lot of people will act like they do, and they'll fill your head full of crap, okay? I'm just saying. As I've heard before, too, if you don't have a plan and you don't have a vision for your life and where you're going, I'm going to tell you what, someone else does, and usually it involves you doing work for them, okay, to achieve their goals, okay? Make sure you have a vision. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure you think critically, all right? And this Wednesday, I'm going to be probably most likely dropping a full-form, long-form breakdown of this compartmentalization story. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to deep dive it. How it was built, how it was sustained, and what it tells us about trust as a leadership principle at every level, okay? If today's stream hit you today, did something for you, please share it. Go ahead and share this with somebody so they can get it, okay? Hype it if you want to hype it as well, too. That'd be great. But please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Subscribing really matters a lot. I really appreciate that. But this conversation needs more voices. We need to get more people in here, okay? We need to spread the goodness of our YouTube chat. We need to spread this word and this conversation, okay? And if you're serious about doing the identity work with me, not just consuming content, but actually rewiring, transforming, making a breakthrough about how you lead and how you live, the inner circle is where that happens. The link is in the chat right now. It's also in the description, okay? I'd love to see you join, or you can join my Ferocious Optimist coaching membership. We meet this Saturday is our next session. So I'd love to see you there. We meet the inner circles on Thursday, and actually the Ferocious Optimist coaching membership is on Saturday, so no inner circle this week. But I'd love to have you in there. Again, I'm Ben Pappas, your host. Great to have you here. Please like, subscribe, and share. Awaken the warrior within is so, so important. Make yourselves better, okay? Make the world better. Have an amazing, amazing week. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. And remember, go get yours. Let's go. I will see you all very, very soon. Take care.